Futures back to the upside this morning as we get going on a Tuesday here after a bit of a sell-off for not only the market but individual names to the downside yesterday throughout the day as well. Tech trying to lead here this morning. We do have some earnings that are offsetting what could potentially be a bounce back day here. There's 0.15 right now for the NASDAQ. The not SY, the SPY is looking about the same, a little bit less, 0.03, back in positive territory. Good to say, or good to see so far this morning. After yesterday, Oracle downside in a pretty big way here this morning. Revenue miss, guidance was a bit of a mess for Oracle. C3 AI was higher, not so much anymore, getting crushed right now for AI to the tune of about 7.25% AI, the symbol, C3 AI, the company. Micron in the headlines this morning, more Boeing-related headlines. Tesla, always worth a look in the pre-market here. Pretty quiet so far this morning. Did rally into the close yesterday, but I mean, there's a ton of key economic data coming up this week. We get CPI tomorrow, PPI the day after that. Get a Bank of Canada rate decision, not going to affect the U.S. market at all. Get a Bank of Canada rate decision tomorrow, which will be interesting for us anyways. Yeah. I mean, will it be 50 basis points?
That's what a lot of people are saying, Brendo.
Sounding like it.
Yeah, it's interesting because the Canadian economy needs it, but do you really want to push the housing market inflation back up? Obviously, it doesn't really concern much of our viewers, but yeah, concerns less. Lots to talk about today, Brendo. You mentioned the earnings plays. Google in focus with quantum computing, so we'll talk about that. They're up big here in the pre-market already, over 4%, Brendo. Then we've got Mar and Riot getting the nod from JP Morgan today, the mining names getting upgraded there, in Tesla in focus as well as Microsoft and Amazon, as they're actually going to vote to possibly add crypto onto their balance sheet. This is going to be super interesting.
Whether or not that actually happens,
of course.
We'll see. But yeah, they're talking about it. Yeah, where did that come from for Google all of a sudden with a quantum chip?
I know.
By the way, we have a quantum chip. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on Google. Hasn't done much for the past few weeks here. Here's Starbucks, worth keeping an eye on as well. More executive shuffling going on for Starbucks. A few announcements made from then. It was down pretty hard yesterday, but did hold that low from Friday. So trying to bounce back here. Just under $100, the key level there for S-Bucks. Sean with a much-deserved day off today. Obi's in. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning, and oh boy time. There's a lot to watch today, and it's all about Willow. Today, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm not talking about that fantastic 80s movie with Val Kilmer in it. Well, it's a mediocre movie, but Val Kilmer was a good actor. No, look, this quantum computing chip for Alphabet, it's just the right catalyst. It feels like this is a stock that should be at its highs by the end of the week. It's already up 4 points today. It's been strong the entire time since we sat down. You're breaking out pretty nicely. But there's a lot to watch. The other theme, and this is not necessarily the best, but if you look at MongoDB, and then this morning C3 AI, the aftermarket show, both of these two names on earnings were blowing it out. Double-digit gains, and now red after the call for MDB, and then a similar thing with C3 AI. I mean, you're talking about double-digit gains, looks like it's squeezing. Now it's absolutely flushing. C3 AI is down 10% and still heading down. Some traps got set, some longs got caught in both of these types of names. Do not like them, either one of them. Market is overall just slightly up. There he is. And Randy's in the house. By the way, everybody, Randy has promised to do an auto segment this afternoon.
Okay. All right.
Well, you did promise. You did.
What kind of autos are we going to be talking about?
Mike.
We're going to talk about tariffs and the future. Well, not the immediate future of what's going to happen if these tariffs come into play with the new administration. It's going to upset a lot of things. So we'll have a discussion.
That's what everyone wants to hear about. It's a reality. These tariffs are definitely coming.
Yeah. Could be a problem.
Appreciate the treat, my friend.
Yes, thank you.
Stay tuned. Afternoon show. We'll fit him in for sure in the afternoon. Should be a good one here today, Obi.
Yeah, always. With Randy's insight, I think there's always some good tidbits to take away from that. But yeah, no, I'm watching that AI. Unfortunately, that AI gave back a decent chunk of its move. But not to worry, Google to the rescue with that aggressive trend. We're still kind of bidding up in the pre-market, doing some decent. Where's my relative volume right here? Okay, cool, yeah. So let's see how much relative volume this thing's doing in the pre-market. If it's going to calculate it for me, it's got to go back a frame and forward. But yeah, no, AI is definitely something to potentially keep on watch. We saw a couple strong tickers. Tesla with the run up into the close yesterday as well. So yeah, some interesting names for sure. We'll go back to that AI right here. So yeah, okay. So giving back a decent chunk of its move from yesterday and trading even lower than prior day's lows right here. Yeah, we were talking about this 40 level in the pre-market with Neil, and yeah, we're just like kind of missed that trade back in. But you can see the expanding volume as well as expanding relative volume coming into the day today. And you already know we got to throw up that anchored VWAP to the earnings reaction and see where that's kind of sitting at. I'm pretty sure we're sitting well below that level as of right now. If I can just get boom right there. Okay, so yeah, that's sitting all the way up at 44s. We're trading up at 37s right now. So that is quite an extension off of that earnings reaction as well. Another thing I'm watching, Neil, is FXI. FXI yesterday we had that strong gap up and that continuation off of the open, but overnight the Hang Seng kind of dropped quite significantly, gave back a decent chunk, if not more, of the intraday move and a decent chunk of that gap up move as well. You can see it here on the FXI. So that's definitely something I'm going to be watching today, looking for that continuation. That continuation came in nicely yesterday off of the gap up and a push, and now we're basically gapping down, giving back yesterday's gains. And yesterday had some decent relative volume as well. I think a lot of people kind of getting in for that continuation, maybe not just on the intraday, but maybe on a multi-day move as well, but doing over 5 times relative volume on this large cap China ETF here, FXI. So a few names on watch. Let's see what else falls into our lap.
Speaking of falling into our laps.
Oh boy.
Well, if you're on the bid, this is falling into your lap. I don't hear any news on SMCI here, or I haven't seen any news. I just went to the X machine to see if I could find something. But this just went 5% down rather rapidly and is losing the bid here. SMCI, look, they sold it off. It got sold off yesterday after breaking that 45. And it could just be like technical continuation, like a rollover, close. And then once you lose support at about 44 we close, there's just no bid down to 41. Could just be a pre-market thing. I haven't heard any news or seen any news specifically. We'll keep an eye on this one. As obviously, SMCI is a volatile name and can be worth in the trade. Just wanted to point out the 40, the 41, both levels of prior support that could be coming into play here. The market kind of flat, but you've got a couple things moving around. The post earnings, we're talking about C3AI. Now SMCI kind of taking it on the chin here this morning.
Just looking for anything on that. There's not much right now. Most analysts, it's worth noting, most analysts' notes and moves on AI coming off earnings were negative, including Morgan Stanley maintaining a sell on this stock. So not saying that's a reason, but it is, just be aware. I mean, it's very illiquid and going down on very low volume right now. So we'll keep an eye on SMCI. C3AI just popping back to the upside a little bit there as well. I was going to mention the dollar coming off a little bit here this morning. Oh, that's Sony. I was looking at Sony just before we came on. So this is over in Tokyo. That's not what I wanted to do, but this is over in Tokyo. So Sony closing at an all-time high in the Asian session for the first time in 24 years. This also trades in New York, but this is the primary listing over in on the TSE, the Tokyo Exchange in Japan. So good for Sony. It's been a long time. There's a dollar back to the upside a little bit here this morning. It was down to start things off. The 10-year as well, keeping an eye on some of the yields. Again, we get inflation data both tomorrow and on Thursday. Key inflation data back to the upside here for the 10-year this morning as well. So it kind of feels like a bit of a wait and see here ahead of this print tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be really important there. Brendo, I was keeping an eye on the dollar relative to the Canadian dollar, and it looks like we're continuing getting shellacked on this side of the border with it being at historical, well, not historical, I would say almost 10-year lows right now. With respect to the print tomorrow that we're going to get in Canada, that 50 basis points or 25 basis points, that could hurt the value of the currency even more, as if you're not giving rates, if you're not giving a strong interest rate, there's less demand for the actual dollar. In addition to that, it shows weakness in the economy, and therefore you don't really want to invest in the economy, so you don't take foreign dollars, buy Canadian dollars to invest locally. So trouble for us over here. We'll have to see how the U.S. The dollar reacts to the print tomorrow.
Yeah, I saw it was 72 something this morning for the Canadian, 72.3 or something like that for the Canadian dollar. Just a mess. Here's Mara. Let's go to crypto land. Why don't we? Here we go. Mara downside on a JP Morgan, even though they, or a JP Morgan note, even though they lifted their price target to 23 back to 24 bucks here. Bitcoin not doing a heck of a lot, kind of chopping around a little bit lower as well, guys. But Mara notably still up 1% here.
Yeah, so Mara, you got to buy more Bitcoin if that's what you say you're going to do, right? You're going to raise, and you're going to do it so that you can accumulate. That's what Mara's done. Just quickly to go over Bitcoin, I think it's kind of like yesterday. We'll probably be staring down like 98, like whether or not we can get back above it. Like you were teetering in the other direction. Like every single time, like every single break of 100 was sort of holding the 98 level or just above it over the weekend, and then now it's the other way. Like 98's turned into a bit of a resistance. So if we're not going to claw back above that, I think you've got some weakness that you can play off of here. Now we mentioned Lamar, we're short this in the afternoon into 24. I'm just zooming it out so you can see when it gets down to that 24 area. This has generally been where it was bouncing. If it loses 22.5, I think you've got a more sizable gap here specifically for Mara. But like the trade that I would look for here is it would be the breakdown and continuation. Like yesterday, you had room to the low. Today, it really just needs to sort of break down underneath 24, or I don't necessarily see a trade here for myself in Mara. And obviously, a lot of people might be looking over at MSTR as well. It's not a terribly different looking chart. It's a similar already pulled back. You know, now that we're not underneath the 100,000 mark, you do have a wedge. It is lower highs and higher lows, but it's a very shallow set. And this is what I was pointing out yesterday. It's a very shallow set of higher lows, and then you've got a steep wedge to the downside on MSTR. So look, to me, a break of that shallow trend line probably takes you underneath 360. Neither one of those is imminent right now. Like Mara could be breaking that 2375 area. MSTR always could make that 360 break, but at this point, if we're not getting back above 100,000, I'd be looking for like a continuation flush. It's just not at the levels. The volume isn't there on those. It can come out of nowhere. Like if all of a sudden we're staring down to move to 95 on BTC, these could easily trend down into that range. So, Mara's on my watch again, but unlike yesterday, I don't see an obvious trade into the support. It needs to break it for a continuation short there.
Yeah, I think that Bitcoin is still kind of consolidating in and around that 100 mark. Bit of a trend here that we held on that 85 earlier on in November, on top of 85, and we kind of churned our way all the way up to 100, hitting that high of 104s just last week there. But yeah, no, still well within trend, and some of these names that are very related to Bitcoin catching a bit of a breather as Bitcoin kind of pushes back down below 1,000. But as you just saw, we're still well within that trend to the upside. I'm curious to know whether we distinctly break that trend, or do we hold up relatively well and continue. We can see this is a 3-hour chart on Mara here. You can see we maybe a little bit of a triple top action there, maybe room to come down a little bit more back below this 20 area if we do give up some of the support. But yeah, MSTR also kind of on watch. We saw that bit of a backside action there off of that 550 failure to follow through. 548 is that high there, and then we've been making lower highs, kind of building on this shelf on top of these 370s, 360s as well here on MSTR. So yeah, some of these support and resistance levels definitely on watch, but I think Bitcoin still well within trend. But some of these tickers like Mara, Riot, MSTR may experience or look like they're experiencing a little bit of a pullback off of that. I don't know if you'd call it a failure to follow through just yet through that 100. Like I think you'd give it like 10, 15K above and below for it to really be like, all right, we're not really kind of spending too much time.
I feel like we'd have to lose like 88 or something like that.
Yeah.
Like if I pull this up to, let's go to like an hour chart. An hour, that's not even good enough. Let's go to like a 4 hour. Yeah, like I feel like you have to lose maybe even like 87.
Yeah, the base right there.
Yeah, something like 87 down to 85. You'd have to get down there for you to really call it a complete fail break. Like we've had one pullback, and that got us, got us to 90 before the break, and then you had one little mini flash crash that got you to 92, and then you're holding the top end of the range. So it's not really like a failed breakout yet. Obviously, there's no follow through yet, but yeah, I wouldn't necessarily call it a fail break. It doesn't mean it can't happen. Certainly, it's a possibility. And if we lose that 85, all eyes on that prior channel that we broke away from here on BTC. Like that channel's where you broke. I think anyone there for like the stink bid game, if you lose this high 80 area, it's like stink bid 68 to 75, like right down in there looking for some kind of bid. Obviously, there's a ways away from any nonsense about that. Ooh, I just missed a headline. Small capper there, but there are a few small cappers running around here, but I just heard another one. And there was a note. There was that short seller report on it was AI. Was it AILE?
AIL, yeah, I think.
Is that right? iLearning?
Yes.
So I saw in the chat, and thank you to everyone that was pointing this out, that maybe the short seller report on AILE caused like a sympathy move down in SMCI. It could be that. I'm noting this stock, though, it didn't really do a lot of volume, so I'm kind of thinking maybe it wasn't. It maybe moved like at one point it was from 120 to 90 cents, but still really looking for a more definitive reason. Like it could be that maybe SMCA falls because another short seller report on a different stock, but still looking for the reason why SMCI fell. It has bounced a little bit, now down 4% instead of almost 5%, so a little bit of a bounce here on SMCI. I haven't heard any specific reason other than the speculation that we're making.
Boeing back to the upside here this morning, 1.7%. Pretty good day yesterday for Boeing shares in an otherwise weak market overall. We're back to that high, 160 coming into play right now for Boeing. I mean, there's a couple of notes this morning. 737 MAX production restart going to be key for fulfilling 4,200 pending jetline orders amid global travel demand recovery. Positive note on the airline industry in general this morning, suggesting revenue going out to the end of 2025 and into 2026 going to be substantially higher across the board. That has some of the airlines looking pretty good this morning. AAL up here 3.8% right now. Even UAL bouncing back a little bit here, 1.4% after a couple of down days here. So airlines possibly in focus here.
Yeah, and this is really important for Boeing too, Brendo, because this is their major source of cash flow. They're heavily in debt. We've seen them raise. We've seen all the issues that they've had lately. We've seen the layoffs as well. The percentage of the global workforce that they're looking to lay off. I believe they laid off about 300 people in one of the Seattle plants there a few days ago, part of the larger restructuring that they announced earlier this year. So yeah, it's good to get their feet under them, do what you do well. And apparently they're making these 737 Maxes well. So we'll have to wait and see if, no parts fly off.
Here's hoping. Jets, the ETF here we touch on from time to time, looking about the same here. Very low volume across the board on most of these this morning, but back to 25.60, 25.75 here for JETS.
Have a little faith, Sharif. It's fine, Boeing. It'll be just fine. Everything is going to be just fine for Boeing. Nothing's going to go wrong. I want to manifest all this like positivity for Boeing. So I'll show you a chart in a second that is the one you should be in. The 50 period's finally holding for some actual period of time. I just want to point out the last time this happened it looked like Boeing was making a break clean through the 200 level. And you probably remember me at the time, hey, we're closing here. If we break out here, Boeing's along. You know, it didn't. It was the literal opposite. It didn't make the breakout. I think it was poised to do it. You have a similar thing setting up. Prior support to resistance in the mid 160s, hold a 50 period. Where's the breakout? Needs to break 165, close above the 200 period, and then you're off to the races. Now, the chart that everyone, I shouldn't say everyone, but I mean, if you're in the airline, if you're trading or investing in the airlines, then I'm sure you've noticed that UAL went absolutely ham recently. This is a weekly chart. You're going to notice the absence of red weeks here for UAL. That said, topping tail through 100 and now setting up a potential pullback and reversion. So I don't know, anyone that hasn't rung the register on UAL, it doesn't make any sense to me. It obviously did a little bit of squeezing, it's small short float, but a crazy run that it feels like is on its way back here, at least a little bit for United Airlines. I think that's one worth watching. But Boeing, this is a setup that I think you just got to wait for it. You know, we get the consolidation. If it makes the breakout through 165, I think that's where you have a go zone to enter. It's not enough to hold a 50 period like it did before. You want to break in that next level. If it can do that, you know, I'm for the long, but sometimes when something's in a downward pattern, you want to be patient with your entry. Like there's plenty of dip buy trades on uptrends that you can make, or swing trades you can make in stocks that are actually strong, as opposed to trying to rush into something predicting where the bottom is going to be. Join something that's already made the move, and because this is a chart that I know, I'm going to pull it up in snow. And it was languishing like a lot of other names had been, and it did the same move that you're hoping Boeing does at this moment, right? Like it trend to the downside, hold a 50 period, break out local resistance, and then you're off to the races. You know, eventually getting into 190. Like that's the kind of move you're looking for. Like how quickly it made 50% for you, right? So Boeing can do this, just needs to make that next step of breaking out the top.
Yeah, I mean, I like that look on Boeing. We have kind of found a base at that 137 after selling off of earnings there. Earnings again mid to late October right here, specifically on the morning of October 23rd. You can see you kind of consolidated, sold off 137s, 137.05 is the low, and over the course of I guess the later half of November and the start of December, again being the first or the second week of December this week, we can see that nice little continuation to the upside. 161.95 is yesterday's high, but yeah, I'm going to be looking for that 163 to see if that can bring in anything there. Let's see if this uptrend continues back to some of these prior highs, or do we continue the even bigger picture trend here? The bigger picture trend again going to a weekly on Boeing, a little bit sideways, but you can see we've been making lower highs there. Strong selling that came in again at the end of or what is this? This is that's March 2020. Huh? Hello. So we haven't really done as good of a recovery off of those 2020 lows as some of the other tickers that we kind of have learned to kind of love and cherish for returning back to their all-time highs there, but not really that kind of recovery seen here on Boeing, but a little bit of a support coming in at these, it would seem 120s to 140s. Let's see if this bid finally can catch. But something to note that's standing out right away, Neil, is this volume bar. This volume bar that kind of coming in, one of the highest volume bars for a few years there, coming in on some of these, some of that pullback off of earnings. So earnings day 2, we got some strong volume there on Boeing. So maybe some of those reference prices is things that we should be watching out for. The high being at 156.90 and the low at 147.50 on that high volume day. So that's probably what I'll be looking for if a day is going to be doing that kind of significant volume. What's the high? What's the low of that day, since it's done so much volume, and where are we trading relative to that? As of right now, we are trading well above some of those prices there, 159.50s on Boeing. Yeah, let's see if we can kind of continue that trend to the upside.
All right, let's bring in Mitch Hoke, analyst over at Trade the Pool, for a look at a few ideas to get going on a Tuesday morning, again, ahead of what is to come over the next couple of days. A few key economic prints expected for the overall market. So maybe a little bit of a wait and see type of a day coming up today. Whenever you're ready there, Andre, let's bring in Mitch. There he is. Mitch, is it going to be, I mean, we're positive on the day here so far for the overall market. Is it going to be, though, a bit of a wait and see kind of approach here? It kind of feels like that so far this morning.
Yeah. Right now we're in what's called the stock pickers market, right? Where if you really look inside the market, it's not all bad. I think that what you really need to see is what's going on there with, of course, like Google and kind of what's moving right now, Microsoft, Apple, and I think that's the important thing. If you really look at it, Apple for the last month is up 8.47. Microsoft is up 4.8. You guys are seeing a big push in Google today, and this is all on the backs of more quantum talk. But I think this is also has to do with what I've been putting out, which is DOJ concerns starting to go to the sidelines. And if that happens, Microsoft and Google and Apple are all three names that I can see having a good end of the year rally here. And a lot of this is what I'm seeing is the profits from NVIDIA rotating out and going to other big boy names. For a while there, I thought it was only Apple, but I can clearly see they're just moving into the higher big caps. They're moving into Microsoft, Google, and Apple. And I think that that's where the profits of NVIDIA are starting to move. And I've talked about it. I think Apple can outperform NVIDIA in 2025 with AI intelligence. So that's definitely a move that we're clearly seeing.
After a couple of years of NVIDIA doing all the heavy lifting here, yeah, all-time highs yesterday for Apple. We touched on this a little bit this time yesterday morning. 4 to 5 days last week, the S&P positive, but the advanced decline was negative all 4 of those days. So as you're suggesting, you know, a group of a handful, let's call it, stocks doing the heavy lifting here. Going into the end of the year, we typically see some sort of window dressing, for lack of a better term, people, you know, maneuvering some portfolios to look the best into the end of the year, some tax loss harvesting happening. What's your thoughts on seasonality really going into that time of year?
Yeah, I mean, it's a classic play, and I think what you're seeing is the ETF effects, right? A lot of times when they sell off one player, they just buy the other player, right? And so that's the ETF effects you're seeing with the big boys. And now we're running into, of course, the Santa Claus rally, where majority of the times, what do they look for? They look at the IWM, the small cap names, of course, are the names that are watched often. And it's usually from the Tuesday right before Thanksgiving into the beginning of the year that leads into that New Year rally, right? Small cap rally. A lot of people take a look into that type of play. I think you can continue to watch that. You can look to see some more retail names strong also. There's going to be a split trade there. There's going to be names that are doing well. There's going to be names that are doing bad. Lulu, you guys can see the performance that's happened in that one. And I'd keep an eye out on a name like that and seeing if some other names start to pick up. And ANF, some names like that you can look into retail. But there's other areas to watch in this seasonality. What about the airline sector? Today we got a comment from Bernstein on American Airlines, pretty much calling them closer to the have than the have-nots. And I think this is important because you're starting to see kind of this rally in the airlines, and it's been all led by the leaders, of course, UAL and DAL. But take a look at JetBlue and Love as some opportunities here to start getting the love. And JetBlue, I think, could start getting the lift. Of course, we all know what's been going on with Save and Spirit, and we don't know what happens with that. But of course, what is the cheap airline now? It's going to be moving towards JetBlue. It's going to be moving to a Frontier. And these kind of plays, I think, are really looking good. JetBlue has a really nice daily chart that it's starting to approach a nice trend line break that I'd be looking for in the airline space. And there's a lot more to talk about, of course. I'm going to go quickly. Autonomous driving has been continued up. I brought AUR here about 2 or 3 weeks back, and now it's up 38%. Tesla continuing. Mobileye, a watch there. Definitely some watch to continue watching the quantum plays. China stocks now getting a lift. We have a big meeting that's coming up tomorrow and the next day on the 11th and 12th. So keep your eyes to seeing these China stocks do the gap up move. A lot of times it's not going to be an intraday move. It's more of your swing trade type of look. So we'll see what happens with those plays. But we got to talk about the competition, man. And I don't know if you saw it, but man, oh man, what a victory on some of these traders. Did you guys see the top prize?
Give it to us here. Give us the top 3 anyways from...
All right, I'll give it to you guys. Let's give us a big spotlight on these big winners. Of course, these legends not only played the market, but they owned it, man. I mean, 134,430 for George. I mean, you can't dream of that, man. I mean, think about it. He could be buying himself a Corvette Stingray right now, or maybe he's more into the EVs with a Model S Plaid. But that's not all of it, right? We also had a trader from the Philippines in second place that had a monster $91,000 with an impressive 55.26 win rate. So crazy trade on ZJK, of course, brought 28,000. These traders really killed it. And I really got to give them a shout out because really, I mean, anyone making this type of money in a competition, of course, it's something to look at. Your potential reward of what you could trade if you put your skills to the test. And I can tell you guys right now, I didn't get 134,000, so I really got to give it up to these guys. Really killed it. And of course, like always, guys, you guys can check out the competition's not done the way I think about it. Of course, the next champion could be you out there watching right now. So of course, check out Trade the Pool, guys. You never know what's possible.
Best of luck today. Mitch Hoke, analyst over at Trade the Pool. We'll touch again next week.
All right, like always, guys, stay tuned. There's more trades out there, guys. Like always, keep watching. Like I always got some ideas. Last bonus, like always, for all you guys that tuned to the end. Short opportunities today. Palantir and Disney. Disney, of course, ran into earnings. Now pulling back. Could go right back into that gap of earnings. Ran above that 100. Palantir, hard reversal yesterday. We'll watch for the 9 EMA move towards 70.59. And that's on the daily. But look for maybe an hourly pop into the resistance around the 74, and then that wash coming back if we could go into a red day. But hey, just some bonus plays.
Appreciate it, Mitch. Thanks a lot.
As always, thank you, and a big shout out to Mitch. I actually did want to, if I just very quickly, okay, we got to give some love to third place because Thong's a thong. Thong's a thang, sorry.
Thong's a thang.
From Australia in third place on RKDA. Just narrowly edging out Omar trades in there. There we go, Hassan Ali, little Canadian content at 70,000. So shout out to everyone that did well in the competition or that was in the competition, and best of luck in trading going forward. Oddly enough, Disney is a bit of it's also a mean reversion to look at what's going on with Disney here. Like you had the big move and then the pullback, and then you sort of like yesterday broke a gentle uptrend that it was on. And so I think a continuation makes sense. It's a stronger stock. Palantir, however, got away with one. I say it all the time. Like sometimes you get away with it where I'm on a gap up, was looking long on Palantir, and it just comes down to, okay, well, do you have an out when you're wrong? And are you at least trading at the right price? Because if you're trading at the right price, there were some small bounces here. Once it broke 80, if you're playing long, let it try to fill in the gap and then put in a bottom. So when it did that, there was another opportunity for a long, obviously better short entry at that point, and then down around that 71 area, let it fill in some more of the gap. And once it did that, you've got, I think there's continuation of 71 breaks, there's a 70 level, and then 70 down to 67. You've still got some pretty sizable gaps here for PLTR, as it was a heck of a rug pull, just keeping in mind how strong the stock has been. I mean, it was up from 20 to 40 to 80. That just charts it from NASDAQ, but there's a lot of room for it to continue a healthy pullback. I don't disagree with Mitch at all. And there's your 74 resistance that he was talking about.
Yeah, I think something to note on Palantir is the anchored from their prior earnings. You can see we've been pretty much hovering above it, holding it quite well. Bit of an extension off of some prior day pushes there through that 80, a nice little reversion back down, but still within this multi-day trend here. So yeah, I definitely can see what he means by that 9 EMA potentially. Just it's holding trend on the daily here in multiple different ways. So yeah, let's see how far back we can pull. I think again, all the way when I see an anchored hold like this, I think all the way down to the anchored is all fair game. Holding a bit of a multi-week trend all the way from earnings in November 4th, so the beginning of November. So it's been just about a month there that Palantir has been trending up. I still remember that 50 push on that day one of earnings, and oh boy, we made it all the way to 80s, trading 70s right now. So nice little continuation we've had post earnings here on this ticker. Let's see if the longs have had it for now, and we take a bit of a pullback. Yesterday's selling was quite aggressive. I was looking for that reversion. That reversion didn't necessarily come in that clean. Sure, it gave you a little bit of a move there, but nothing anywhere near that VWAP. We got nowhere near that VWAP, but that VWAP kind of coming in once again today. So let's see if we can break yesterday's lows for that continuation. I think that's something good to watch out for, is this level right here. Prior day's lows coming in at that 71.06. So we're trading 71.98s right now on Palantir. Again, strong relative volume as well, 2.3, 2.4s on a 5 period. Yeah, let's see if that Palantir will continue today, or do we get a little bit of a bounce and hold of this bigger picture trend?
Lots to talk about. Let's get right into everything we need to know here. Sharif's going to have a look at the overall market.
Oh, it's the afternoon already. All right, guys, 60, 65, that's where we closed out yesterday on the ES December contract. We're right at it right now. We're 60, 68, so holding it as support. So here's the deal. We're looking at 60, 50 as that level of support. We found support there on the third, the third, and as well, it was resistance the day prior. So we're looking at 60, 50 as support. If we continue to move up, we're looking at 6,100 as resistance.
All right, free stuff coming your way. If you haven't done so yet, jump down to the description of this video. Top link in the description will get you to the sign-up page for the watch list. It's free, so why not? All you need is an email address. You get everything delivered right to your inbox every day. That is moving around in the pre-market, and why. Let's touch on Oracle here to kick things off. 7% downside right now this morning. Not much positive really on this report. It did tick a little bit higher initially after the close yesterday, but then straight southbound to the tune of about $10. Revenue miss, forecast was a mess. Probably a short today.
Yeah, you're bang on, Brendo. EPS slightly below expectations. Revenue narrowly missing what the street was looking for. Quarterly sales did grow 9% year over year. Net income did rise 26% to about $3.15 billion. This is what caught my attention, though. So their cloud service revenue increased 12% year over year, but now it accounts for 77% of their total income, so very concentrated in one sector. That's a little worrying. On the good side of things, they did sign a deal with Meta to support Llama, with Meta obviously dropping the new Llama 3 not that long ago. With respect to guidance, Brendo, revenue expected to grow 7 to 9% year over year, which is below estimates, and again, the guide for EPS below estimates. But one caveat, up 70% year to date.
Yeah, great year. Right across the board on the back of AI. Obviously, they mentioned it numerous times, a couple of products related to that already. Holding below 180 here, though. Seems to be a bit of a thing after the close and then this morning, guys, for Oracle.
Crimey River, Larry must have moved. Maybe he moved down one spot on the top 10 list or wherever he happens to sit. Larry Ellison, that is. He's rich. I mean, the guy... the 4 horseman days to now, you lost the 50-period moving average, and I think that's the thing of concern today. And there's a few earnings names that were up and then down. This was down from the beginning. When you're watching the aftermarket show, there was no initial bounce in this. It was just miss, and then head to the downside. The guide not looking too good. But the 180 level, and I saw it in the chat, a few people were pointing this one out. Look, my list today was like, it's Google, it's Apple, it's C3 AI, and why am I blanking on the fourth, which doesn't even make any sense. It'll come to me in a sec. Oh, and it's not even Tesla. It's AMD. And actually, I was in Tesla as like a little bit of a fifth one in there. That's why I'm not going to be trading. It's unlikely I'm going to be trading Oracle. I shouldn't say not going to be. Anything can set up. That said, that prior support level that turns into resistance is about the 180. You've already seen it in the aftermarket resist, at the open resist. To me, that's an over-under type of deal. Like if it can't get over 180, it's a short to that, as far as I would be concerned. And then the only place I'd look long that wouldn't be above the 180 would have to be if it goes SSR down 10%. Like I just look for, If it gets down 10%, maybe it holds an even dollar and a mean reversion trade, which would just be a trend break from the downside. But that wouldn't be until it gets down 10% for myself here on Oracle.
Yeah, so I'm kind of like measuring where is that 10% sitting as of right now. So measured from prior day's close, that's in and around that 171.45 right here. So prior day's close being in and around 190.54, so 171.45. So we did kind of hit that mark off of the earnings reaction right here. You can see we hit that 171.46. So we hit that SSR almost to the penny there, with a bit of a bounce and holding above 174s right now. We've made lower highs relative to the bounce off of earnings reaction once again. Again, we throw up a bit of an anchored here. This is the anchored from today. I think these are some prior earnings anchored as well. We'll take a look at them in just 1 second. But we're trading relatively below it there, making lower highs, kind of building into some of that reaction low right here. So let's go up to higher time frame, like an hourly, and see where these anchors are kind of coming from. If I remember correctly, definitely from prior earnings right here. So prior earnings, we did well, double beat right there, a bit of a gap up push continuation. We see that we've been making strong legs off of those levels there, but a strong pullback into some of these anchors on on last night's earnings. So let's see if this anchored continues to provide us a support. We have a bit of a sandwich between today's anchored and prior earnings anchored as well. That should be interesting. So some of these highs coming in at 179.50 and 173. Yeah. So with the rundown animation, let's see if Oracle has a bit more of a rundown coming off of the open there. But some of those levels definitely could be interesting. I'm looking at this support right here, 173 halves, 172s, to see if that anchored really, if we have any sort of interesting interaction with that anchored.
Neil, did you want to touch on that?
I think.
Well, I think I'd already gone over Oracle. I think we're good. Yeah.
Google, a couple things to understand here. I mean, day highs right now, first of all, 4.5%. Nice look. Nothing but straight to the upside so far. All of a sudden, here we are with a quantum computing chip from Google, which has Elon's attention as well.
He does, and he was going back and forth with Sundar on X, Brendo. So nice to see some collegiality there. Let's talk about what the deal is here. So this is developed by Quantum AI, which is a Google division. The name of the supercomputer or the quantum computer is called Willow. And why it's cool is it solved the computation in under 5 minutes that would have taken the leading supercomputer in existence today 10 to the power of 25 years. I'm obviously not good at math, so you're going to have to do that one for me. It did also achieve real-time error correction. So it was able to see where it made mistakes, go back, fix them in real time. So Sundar Pichai suggested collaborating with Elon Musk on a quantum cluster in space, of all places, Brenda, using SpaceX's Starship. Musk did express interest, predicting the idea's feasibility. Also should mention that NVIDIA is involved in this as well. So Quantum AI has been partnering with NVIDIA on this whole thing. So they've gotten involvement here.
Early days, obviously, but it's a pretty cool story. It's worth noting from a technical aspect, we're clearing some pretty key areas on the daily chart, 182, 181, if you go back to the beginning of November. So can we hold above that? Going to be key here for Google today.
This is one of those where you write your note and you haven't even gone up 5% when you're going over the levels in the morning. So you unveil the quantum chip, you pull up a daily chart, and my first look at the time I'm sitting down is, hey, we're breaking from a prior high. As long as you're holding 179, 180, you've got room to here, and then we can break out a 182.5, and it's the number one stock on my list today, and probably on a few people's if you trade big cap tech. That said, something has changed. You know, double topping up here on Alphabet. There's your 182 to 182.5 zone. Suddenly, this becomes the open dip buy area. Like if we dip, I want to be playing into here. And if we lose this, and this is just like the Tesla yesterday. Like if you lose, or even Palantir. Like if you lose this area here, it's the next place I would be looking for a long to hold would be closer to $180. So it's like I'd look for a trade in here 182 to 182.5 to play into some of those highs. And the all-time high is 191.75. There's room to that, to be sure. And there's room to about 187 as well. So you got room to the upside. No questions asked about this. So first dip will be into that 182, 182.5 zone. If you lose that, patience to 179, 180. And there was actually in the chat, I want to shout out a viewer that was essentially saying, Neil, did you really mean 380 on Tesla? We're not going to talk Tesla. I do mean 380 on Tesla. As in, I don't care if it's at 390. I don't care if it's at 400 today. After the reversion we saw yesterday, I'm waiting for it to get into the low 80s to look for a long on Tesla. And I think it's a similar thing here. Like sometimes, there's a price that you're willing to transact at. If it loses that bid, then you don't necessarily like a long till it goes significantly further. And I think you have to have that kind of a look, especially if you're buying the dip.
Yeah, I think that continuation on Google is definitely something to watch out for. It's doing some strong relative volume in the pre-market. You can see here above 10x again on a 5 period on this chart. We're trading at 183 halves as of right now. So a strong trend push. And yeah, that 182 half is definitely interesting. You look back on the chart, that is some prior highs right here. You can see that came in at 182.28 roughly. So let's see if we can use some of those prior resistances as a bit of support. In the pre-market, we've already come in and done a little bit of that. You can see we pulled back. The first kind of pullback we've had since about 7 a.m. or even 4 a.m. We had a bit of a pullback into 178s, but we reclaimed pretty quickly here, about 3 15-minute bars to the downside on top of 182s. And you can see right here with that prior 9 a.m. 15-minute candle, we wiped all the way back up to 183.60s right here, trading 43s right now. So I'm looking for that continuation off of the open. We're holding well above VWAP. We're trending pretty nicely as well. You can see if you want to draw a bit of a pre-market trend from where this volume kind of comes in, and we hold a bit of this support. We're holding a pretty sharp trend to the upside as well as of right now. So off of the open, I think this one is definitely one to keep an eye on. Again, doing a bit of a breakout on a higher time frame as well, as Neil pointed out. You can see nice little double top action here at that 182. We're finally kind of breaking out above it. I got a lot of lines here. Again, a lot of anchors as well to prior events and earnings, and you can see we're closing into some of these all-time highs here at 191.40. So I don't know if we're going to do a 10-point move on Google today, but some of these prior highs are definitely prices to watch out for as support or as potential areas of support and resistance to watch out for what price action does in and around some of those areas. So Google, definitely one of the top names on watch for me today. Let's see what opportunities Alpha will give us off of the open.
On crypto here, 2% right now for Coinbase. I was just noting there's a bit of volume spike there, but coming back down. That's a daily chart, but we are trading inside the range so far from yesterday. This is one of those fun, if you had $100 to invest in Bitcoin today, what would it be worth in 2030, according to Kathy Wood's price targets? She gives a wide range. So, I mean, anywhere from 258,500 up to 3.9 million. $100?
What? That's intense.
Just saying. I mean, we're positive for some of these equities so far today. We touched on Mara there a little bit early on this morning, maybe standing out. It is positive, but was down significantly yesterday. So gapping up a little bit here after a pretty red day yesterday.
So this is interesting, Brendo, because we know that the shareholder meeting for Microsoft is today, December 10th, and on the docket is a proposal put by shareholders or to be voted on by shareholders for Microsoft holding 1% of assets in Bitcoin, which is quite interesting over here, to leverage Bitcoin as an inflation hedge. The board, it should be noted, opposes this proposal. They want to prioritize treasuries, U.S. treasuries. In any event, the bull case for this is that Bitcoin is 1,246% price increase over 5 years, far outweighs what you would have made on treasuries. This over here is a bit of an, I guess, an addendum to the shareholder meeting today, and there's the proposal for actually holding Bitcoin on the balance sheet. And then the company responds over here, a company statement in opposition. Adara sent this to me, and basically they say, look, we already have people that do this. We don't need you guys to tell us what to do, and we don't really think that this is a great investment. So Kalshi, by the way, which predicted the election, suggests that there's only a 13% chance that they actually take this up. Should also be noted, Amazon also looking at this as well.
Yep, we'll see what happens on that. And here's Bitcoin. Meanwhile, we are green on the day to the tune of 0.5% only. Back to 98, or flirting with 98 anyways, guys.
It starts at 13%, and before you know it, they're doing it. And look, whether it happens now or in the future, I think if you're a Bitcoin bull, you would probably think that that's going to happen eventually. But I think that's a discussion for a later time. When that vote happens, we'll get the results. It's very unlikely to be the case that they adopt, just given the expectations. Coinbase strong. You have a bottom consolidation. Coinbase didn't make my list today. I mean, Mara didn't, but at least Mara has a trading idea that I can get behind. If you're looking bullish, I'd feel much better if we're breaking 100,000 for a breakout above this 321 on Coinbase. But what could happen, as long as we're holding underneath 100K, Mara's got this bottom here at 23.75, like 23.75. It'll double bottom. You pop it over to the daily. Like if it loses this support level, you've got room to the downside. So I think a hold underneath that level, as long as we're not breaking back out over 100,000, Mara is definitely set up. This thing goes red pretty much just above that level. So if it goes red, stays red off the opening range. Yesterday was like a continuation afternoon type short. Like it showed you this level. It flushed down, broke contain, had one green candle in here, and then that same level was multiple shorts through the day. That's what I'd be looking for if we lose 23.75 on Mara. I just want to quickly point out, I know we don't have Micron on here, but Micron got like a Commerce Department made a $6.1 billion investment in the company for memory chip facilities in Clay, New York, and Boise. So this one's up 2.5 points, and on the daily, just want to point out a little bit of a lower high if it can take out this 106 level. So Micron on the run, one of the stronger chip names this morning. But it's only Mara that I'm looking at. It would have to break down.
Yeah, I think MSTR a little bit on watch for me, as it's potentially looking like a bit of a reversion, bit of a backside move here if it can give up some of these supports here at that 360. Now again, maybe not going to be trading MSTR directly if it's kind of a little too spready. There's a bunch of ETFs associated with this ticker. There's MSTY, MSTX. I'm sure you guys in the chat have a few others as well, but. Some strong moves there off of the past few weeks. If Bitcoin kind of takes a bit of a pullback, I'm going to be looking for a little bit of the support to come into question, and maybe a continuation a little bit to the downside right here, kind of coming into this prior uptrend that we've been having pretty much for a good chunk of since what is it, August, September right here. So a nice little trend here. I think we got pretty extended off of that trend. Some exhaustive action into the 540s, 550s, kind of coming in as Bitcoin approached that 100K. A little bit of a disconnect brings us back down. Let's see if we can bring it back down into these 300s, 320s right here. If that support level does break, that's potentially what I'll be looking for there. But then again, this could take a long while. We know how choppy this ticker is. We've been consolidating kind of sideways there as we've been making lower highs as well. So I don't expect it to be straightforward, but it could be something that does show up there. So I'll definitely be watching this, a bit of a support here. Again, Bitcoin is still holding underneath that 100K as of right now, but taking a look at this consolidation, this trend up that we got into the push of 100 after a strong leg up after this the break of a bit of a trend here, trend and hold of that 70s, 60s area. This is the first kind of strong consolidation pullback that we've had, and we've been trending on top of it there. So I'll be looking for a continuation on that. But if that breaks, that MSTR could definitely be one to keep an eye on here for crypto.
And C3 AI pushing 10% at this point, back to the lows almost right now, 37.50 after. This thing was really positive initially on the report. I was just sitting here spending some time trying to find any reason for this. Still pretty unexplained, to be honest. If you go back a couple of days, we're running into Some pretty key support, though, for AI. People taking the chance, I guess, to get out.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what's going on, what's causing the sell-off either, Brendo. So we'll talk about how they did. Earnings, they reported a loss of 6 cents per share, but that was better than the street was looking for. Revenue also surpassing analyst expectations, but this company's not making that much money, about $94 million in revenue. The outlook here aligning with the consensus forecast, so good look. They've got some good partnerships here. They're forming a partnership with Microsoft, specifically with Azure, as well as, to kind of offer solutions and be one of the apps based there for Azure users. Separately, they have this agreement as well. Them, C3AI and ECS looking to modernize U.S. Army intelligence collection and management system. So some good stuff coming in here, but not really sure what is causing the sell-off. Last thing, Brendo, up 45% year-to-date before the sell-off here.
That's huge for C3AI. Maybe stepping into Palantir's playground might be a little bit negative for them, but we'll see, guys, for C3AI.
C3AI. I want to shout out to Roaring Pity in the chat, saying you're choosing to watch us over CNBC. We appreciate you. You found the right place, and we're going to cover what's actually moving when it happens, as we're trading it, as opposed to like an hour later, or if not at all. But C3AI, to me, when you get a reversal like this, it was like the number 4 on my notes. I have 5 stocks instead of 4 when I posted this morning, and this is in there, but just simply because it broke. It was a big reverse. Doesn't matter why, to me, just price action is going to be king. And double bottom here yesterday at 40, broke down underneath 40. I mean, even VWAP right now is sitting at that 40 level. So I'm looking for a short back into 40. It's that simple. Like if this gets back above $40, it's not a short. If it's out in front, it is. I just realized, oh yeah, we have free locates on it, so all good to go. I just realized I hadn't even tested. No, yeah, simple as that. I want to short back into the 40 level on C3AI. Massive reversal. If you're watching the aftermarket show, this is one that we thought if it could have just held up here, it was a 50 break all day. But that's not the case. It's the other way. And you got to be able to trade what the stock is telling. Before I throw over to Obi, I'm just going to quickly throw up the imbalances if I can for everybody here. Live is past 925. It's just NEO with a sell of 650,000. That'll be the big one. Riot with a buy 370. Actually, Google was a 250,000 sell, not terribly big, but Apple just made a slight dip to the downside as well. That's worth watching.
Yeah, there was a bit of a flush there on Apple off of those imbalances, but yeah, no, AI. You can see I already have my anchored kind of marked up here on AI off the earnings reaction. We attempted to push through it in the pre-market. Today, can't really get past that 46 level, trading down aggressively once again, kind of giving back everything we pushed up on off of those earnings, coming back into some of these prior potential support and resistance levels here from where it went sideways over the past couple of weeks. You can see that we have some strength with some strong volume that came in on the 19th of November here, and we held some of those highs there. So I'm going to be looking for some of these supports to see if they kind of come back into play right here. 35 halves right here, a bit of a double bottom before we got that strong push up on earnings right here, and then 34s, and then 31s and some change right here as well. So some of these prior supports, let's see if they hold as supports coming into the day. Aggressive selling off of these highs. Let's see how far we've kind of pulled back off of the reaction highs. We're down about 25% off of the reaction highs. Not as much off of prior day's close. Say about a 10 and a half right here. So if it opens up in and around here, AI will be roughly SSR coming off of the open there. So definitely one to keep an eye out for.
Elon talking about tunnels. Apparently they want to build, some company wants to build a tunnel between New York and London. That would be a 54-minute trip.
That'd be great.
I mean, that's like, what, a 5-hour flight?
That's faster than a Concorde.
4.5-hour flight, something like that?
That's crazy.
Anyways, he said the Boring Company could do it for 1,000 times less money. He's probably right. Let's go to ADRs here quick. We're getting tight on time. Back downside in a pretty big way here this morning after that huge day yesterday. All of these were up big, if you remember, on stimulus hopes and some more talk. Seems to be all we get, though, from China.
Yeah, especially when you get bad import numbers, down 3.9% year over year. Worst drop in 14 months. Export rose 6.7%, but that was way lower than October's 12.7%. So short-lived pump here, Brendo, for these ADRs.
Guys, ideas here for Chinese ADRs today.
with only 1 minute to go, I'm going to quickly over it. None of these made my list, but I wanted to point out the gap that you've got on Alibaba, the 91 and the 92 levels on the way back up. That would be like an over-under type of idea for me. Like if we get back over 92, I think you're looking continuation. But underneath that, we've seen these gaps get filled before. Quickly on that, I want to mention, I don't know, probably, are you trading Chinese ADRs?
Maybe continuation potentially. I think that's what I'll be looking for. But yeah, nothing too crazy. Not at the top of the list just yet. Again, about 30 seconds until the open. There, definitely going to be having eyes on Google, on Apple, and maybe a couple of the earnings names again as AI and things like that.
Yeah, just as we get to the bell.
Good luck, everyone.
Apple made my list today. It didn't make the watch list, but if it gets 250, I think a lot of people are looking at a 250 break on Apple, and you got 246 support. It's just all-time highs and fresh tops. Let's get the cam off me. We got 4 seconds to go to the opening bell. Ring it, Adara. There we go. The market is open. So initially, you're already seeing a little bit of a dip on Alphabet into that 182 zone. C3AI is completely declining to pop to try to short that one. I don't know if we're going to get the opportunity to short the pop on AI if it doesn't go to the upside. But obviously, that's one that I'm looking for, that sell side trade. Google, no bid coming in just yet. I want to see it try to bounce off that 82 level. Apple's catching a bid. Just realized I need to get my order. If it breaks 250, I am going long. So I want to make sure I have my order in. Apple at 247.5 and starting to bounce.
Yeah, so Google coming in, holding that 82 as of right now. So let's see if that kind of continues up into the open there. Range lows as of right now is 181.70. So we're coming right back up into those or actually we came right back down to 182 halves as of right now. 182 is trading back below that. Oh boy. Getting some serious chop here right off of the open there. Let's see if that 182 holds. Again, some of these prior levels here at that 182. We saw that double top action there as well from some prior weeks. So we just broke through that 182 as of right now. So coming down pretty hard, 181 halves coming in. So trading back below that VWAP as of right now. What do you got going on Tesla? Market to the downside.
Tesla's also dropping in here. So Alphabet, I saw the same thing. It regained that 182 on the way back to the upside. So I jumped in when it regained the 82. My stop is underneath the 181.5 zone. But I got to get over to Tesla, which just did this reversal off 391. Right down into the 390 and now making a big bounce here on TSLA, trying to get to the green and break out through the upside. Alphabet, I'm just going to flash you guys back on over. Okay, just got to the 183. I want to scalp out and buy dips. So every time we make a fresh high, another fresh high into the dollar level, I want to take some out. I want to get back on the bid. If we keep retesting lower, I want to make sure we can add back into this one. This one's starting to go and looking pretty good. You said Intel. Oh, Intel broke it broke the low.
It broke that low.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Yeah, didn't have this one on the list, but Intel has broken through a major support level. This could dump through 2065. If this holds the opening range under 2065, then Intel could be in a flush zone, especially considering, it's not like the market's doing anything bad. We're inside range in the overall market, and this is bleeding. Alphabet looking fantastic now. We're at 184. It's a matter of where to be able to add to this on some dips. I'm going to be jumping back into this on the first available dip to add shares in Alphabet, which is now $1.50. So this one looking like it's going to be a rocket ship. And J Nibble, Block, I don't think Block is halted. No, a Block is not halted. Block is just fine. It's not halted. Maybe check your connection there. It's not halted at all. It scared me for a second, though.
184 is kind of aggressively pushing here. So we did hold some of those prior levels as of right now. So you know what? I'm going to get a little bit more here. Let's see if we can take some inventory into that 185. That 185 coming in right here. How much size is sitting at that 185? Oh boy, I have no idea. Okay, so we did pull back aggressively off of that 185 as of right now. So I got to keep an eye on this one right here. If we pull back with any sort of aggression, I do have to kind of reassess here. Where is VWAP? That's a great question. I should probably have it open here on my chart. So let me pull that up right here. So I have VWAP right here at 182 halves right now. So okay, so we still have a little bit of a ways to go to come down all the way into VWAP there. That ad might have been a little bit aggressive right here at 184 halves as of right now. But again, Google is doing some aggressive moves. We can see the market kind of picking up right back up here off of that, what is that, 21 half area. Again, the whole point, oh boy, is to take inventory into that 185. Let's see if that 185 comes in. I have a bit of an alert there sitting at 186s as well. Again, Google very, very strong off of the open on the day. Let's see if some of the quantum computing news can give us a bit of a move here. Nothing quantum about this move, Neil, as we push aggressively to the upside here as of right now. 184.75 day highs right now, coming right back in. 185s, how much size is sitting at that 185s? Oh boy, I can't see you just yet, but when I will, I'll let you know. Trading about 184 halves. You saw what the size was?
I saw one gateway for 250,000 shares, which was not a lot. I didn't catch which gateway it was, but it was not a lot of size on that offer. I got to, Google's great. It was top of the list for almost everybody, I think, today. But Tesla's almost at $400 here, so it would never pull back into the 80s where we really wanted it. Obviously, you're now pressing higher. You're going to retest that 400 any second now. But look, overall, I know we're looking at names that are running here. Look at the ES. We just lost support on the ES and are heading toward yesterday's bottom. So the NASDAQ is doing some heavy lifting right now. Meanwhile, the ES is looking very, very weak. You've got Microsoft, which is also joining this track meet to the upside. It's over 445, heading toward a bit of a double top for a breakout. And the chips, another day, another dump on AMD where it might just be a continuation short on the next available pop. I had 133 written down on my note. At resistance, we might have to play off 131.5. And then the only other name that I thought we had on our list to look for a short is starting to come up here, that AI. And that's that $40 level. Look at the reversal when it went short sell restricted. So this needs to calm down, roll over in front of that 40. I'm not going to jump in front of this rocket ship right now because you're getting a bit of an SSR bounce on C3 AI. Adara?
Just keep an eye on Banzai here. BNZI, this company basically announcing they're going to be acquiring OpenReel. They're up about 80% right now. It's worth noting some of this volume is not as strong as some of the volume we had coming in pre-market. This one is worth talking about, though, because of the float. We've got a float of just under 700,000 shares, 697,000 shares. 4.6% of that float is sold short. They have a market cap of $8.65 million, and they have run in the past. So BNZI here, if you're looking for small caps. We also just got a catalyst coming here through Ohio Supreme Court, apparently siding with CVS, Walmart, and Walgreens with regards to this appeal here with a $650.9 million opioid trial judgment. So again, here just to clarify, Ohio Supreme Court siding with some of these pharmacies, including WBA, CVS, and WMT with regards to this appeal regarding an opioid trial judgment. So keep an eye on some of those pharmacies. Back to you guys.
For that. We kind of pushed up into those highs. High a day right now is exactly that 185. We're pulling back into 184s right now, but that aggression on Apple, on Google, you can see the market as well. The Nasdaq attempting to push a little bit higher as of right now. So let's see if that can come in. One that was at 21,540 roughly are those highs there. This Google's holding relatively well as of right now. It's a 937. So with a clean test of that 185, I'm curious to know whether or not we break that high and push a little bit higher there. Trading 50 pennies below high of day as of right now. Holding, consolidating, doing a decent amount of volume here in the, I guess, would you call it the upper quartile of the move on the day today, Neil? Holding 184s is nice. Still holding above that VWAP as well. What's going on, Adara?
Intel's still tanking.
We have here some news just coming out now. VSTS here. There are some reports here from Reuters that Advent and Apollo are both apparently vying for the company. So a couple buyout firms reportedly interested in Vestis here. VSTS, which has a market cap of $2.2 billion, a short float of 3.5%, and it's trying to break out here of this range on the 15-minute chart. It is worth noting you're not a ton of volume yet on the day. Just about 620,000 shares traded so far, guys. Back to you.
Very much, Adair. You're still getting bleed on the chips here. Oh, come on, AMD. AMD just broke the 130. Tried to grab Intel on the first available pop. Intel broke that support. You're now under VWAP. You're continuing lower. It's just bouncing off 250. Why do I want the bottom? It's just that simple. You've been holding this ledge for 3 days in a row now on Intel, and now you're starting to lose it. It's been a weak stock. It continues to be a weak stock. Okay, Google's making a higher low. I'm not going to get off the Intel chart for a quick second here. Google's making a bit of a bounce play off the pre-market top here.
Yep.
So about the 183.5 zone. This feels like it's the spot that I want to see if we can jump and grab some more on Google. We scalped some out, right? So now we're going to get a little more in here. If we lose VWAP, get out and wait for 182. But it's this short that I really want in Intel. I thought, there we go. We just got some at 58. Well, as long as it holds underneath that 2065 zone, then I want to stay net short on Intel. At the end of the day, you want to buy strong stocks. You want to short weak ones. Well, last I checked, Intel is a weak stock. So shorting it back into VWAP is going to be the play until it decides that it doesn't want to stink. That's the best way to put it. Until it decides it doesn't want to stink.
Yeah, look at the ES, man. ES is coming down aggressively as of right now, coming right back up into some of those pre-market lows there, but distinctly different from the NASDAQ, which is ripping to the upside right here, Neil. Absolutely crazy. So we held that 21.5 pretty well there on that dip right off of the open. Aggressive bid coming in. Let's see if we can see that 185 once again with the Nasdaq bidding up so aggressively as of right now. We're trading above VWAP as well, like I said before. But that 185 clean test, man. Oh boy, can we break through that? I have no idea. Volume kind of coming down as well. How much relative volume are we doing on Google today? We're doing 5.7 times the relative volume, Neil. So for a large cap like this, that is a ridiculous amount of relative volume right there. Tesla 400.
Tesla 400.
Oh boy.
So Tesla is going right back into the 400 level. Okay, Google got to 184.5. I took some out in front of the $0.50. See if it can break that 185 as Obi just mentioned. But Tesla's on an absolute charge. Now remember yesterday, the 400 break was good as a trade. It was bad as a hold. It came right back after failing the 405 level. So I'm not thinking take this breakout. I want to see it hold and break the 405. I'd rather look at that or maybe play a bit of a mean reversion. That's not the only thing moving up here. With this NASDAQ breaking out, there goes NVIDIA, 141. So, I mean, look, Intel bleeds, NVIDIA wins, Tesla wins, Alphabet wins. I'm double checking. Apple's actually not that strong, believe it or not. So that's a bit of a disappointment. It's not really doing anything. But big power move here on NVIDIA. It's now cleared out that 140 level. It just feels like an over-under at this point. There was so much selling at that 140. And once again, NVIDIA has held a 50 period on the daily. There is your support in the mid-130s. I think a retest of 143 makes all the sense in the world. That said, we liked Google, Alphabet. It's back at the 185 zone. I'm not necessarily thinking break out the 185. But if there's any dip off a fail break of 185, I'm going to be adding on every single available dip. Okay, I'm probably going to break the 185. Let's be real. Adara?
There's some small caps on the move here for those small cap traders. DTCK here, Davis Commodities. Not seeing any news on it, but we do have a 6.4% short float and a 312 share float, so very small float here. Watch out for DTCK, though. It's worth noting we had more volume in the pre-market than we're necessarily seeing right here off the open. There's also QURE on the move. This is Uniquire. They announced this morning they got an FDA agreement here with regards to an accelerated pathway for its Huntington's disease treatment. This one breaking out with volume, making new day's highs here with a 7.4% short float. And last but not least, I wanted to bring up GELS. This is a day two move. Geltech currently halted. We got a float of 1.3 million shares here for GELS. Back to you guys. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're enjoying the show.
Thank you very much, Adara. Gels.
Gels?
I'm not. So this one, we have the tap is 540 on this. This was a mover yesterday that just never gave you the chance at the breakout, GELS. We're like, there's your move, there's your bull flag-ish type play. It's one of those, it's now broken through prior highs at that 4, so as long as it can hold on to the 4, I think it looks pretty juicy. All right, Alphabet's going to break 185. Tesla, for everyone watching Tesla, it did just wick 400. So we just broke 400 and did not break the $0.50. So by the way, on the break yesterday of 400, my stop order got printed at 450 cents. Exactly. That's exactly what I crossed. That's what I got. So that's where liquidity took it up to. So if you can't take 400 and the $0.50, this could easily do a little bit of a short-term mean reversion. You'd like to see it hold that bid above the 400 level. Google's about to break 185. I kind of changed my mind. I am going to make the break of 485 on Alphabet. But I'm also looking for this mean revert on Tesla. Maybe give it to the $0.50. It was such a good long yesterday, but the short was actually better than the long, everybody. I know it seems weird, but it is what it is.
Yeah, so here comes that 185 once again. So let's see if we can break. We're trading in the 90s as of right now. Oh, there's 185 once again. Oh boy, are we knocking on the door once again? Okay, you know what? I'm going to take a little bit there. Let's see if it'll hold or break as of right now. A bit of a reserve happening on top of that 185 as of right now. So that seller has to lift, and I think if and when that seller lifts, we might be poised for a bit of a break. There's the break. How far do we print right off of the 185? Can we hold 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi? All right, third Mississippi is a charm. We're holding that 185 as of right now, trading in the teens. Let's see if we can break the quarter. Can we print the quarter, go to the half? As of right now, nice little reserve. So that seller did lift as of right now. So I'm just waiting for that 185. If we do not hold 185, then it might be a little bit of a pullback to that VWAP as of right now. So you know what? I will.
There's the $0.50.
Yeah, there's the $0.50. There's the $0.50 right now. But yeah, let's see what Google has in store for us after we come back from Madeira.
I have another Mag 7 name for you guys here. It's Microsoft, MSFT. This is looking pretty bullish here off the open. We are up about 1/3% right now. And this one is also in watch because at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, they're actually going to be holding their shareholders meeting during which they will vote on a proposal to invest in Bitcoin. This proposal apparently is going to be presented by MicroStrategy CEO and Chairman Michael Saylor. So I'm going to be following that event 11:30 a.m. It will be available online. Right now, though, MSFT pushing higher and making new day's highs ahead of that event, guys. Back to you.
Yeah, this $0.50 on Alphabet on that break is running into resistance. So I'm all out of each of the dip buys and now only in the breakout trade. I got 185.05 as a fill. If we lose 185, I'm not holding back into VWAP. I'm getting back in at VWAP on Alphabet. But just to go over, Tesla did make the break. I had short right in front of 4, gave it a $0.50. I know that's a ridiculously tight stop, but I mean, it's counter trend, right? Like, I'm not going to hold that ridiculously against me all the way to 402. That was a play off of that 400 level. It looks like Tesla is coming back in. But my plan was to short the 4 and then give it to that $0.50. Will end up being right in terms of it pulling back, but not at the right level. So Google continues to run. Right, Intel's still relatively weak. As quickly, Apple is starting to catch a bit of a bid here. So Apple's joining the party.
Yeah, that's 250.
It just went back green. That's key. So Apple, prior high was 247. If Apple can break 247.5, I want long into 250, and I want 250 as well. So Apple was a second name on the list today, but it just didn't have the strength that some of the other names did. Now we're going to look to join the party if it can get above that 47.5. Google still cruising, now heading toward 186 even. I just got filled in front of 186. Now we hold for 187 on,
187.
Yeah, 187.
Okay,
It's a price level, everybody. You know what I meant by that.
I remember. You know where I remember that? That's a line from one of 50's songs from back in the day where he's like, "I'll only bring him out for that 187." Here comes that 186 as of right now. So a bit of a stacked offer. Neil, why can I not hold? I sold a decent. I sold over about 80% on at 185.30s. We're trading 186s right now, man, and I'm only holding what I added through that 185. Oh boy, oh boy. Where's the next trade? All right, so where's the next trade? That's what I'm looking for. That 82 hold was absolutely beautiful. I was a little bit sweaty because I was like, all right,
Were your knees weak and arms heavy?
I mean, I don't know, but my sweater did have a little bit of vomit already. But
spaghetti?
It might have been spaghetti, but I don't know. This move is absolutely wild.
If you want to make your stomach turn, however, if you're into that sort of a thing, which I would hope that you're not, first of all, Intel's flushing.
Oof, that was a trade we talked about this morning.
Yeah,
That's
and
such a huge trade, that consolidation breakdown. And I'm like, I'm so busy,
It's screwed.
encapsulated by Google. You could be sized so heavily on that breakdown.
No, but but let's keep in mind, when we were discussing Intel today, it was a 21 short, and that's what we were discussing. The breakdown came out of nowhere, so it's a different trade. But this, I think you might be headed down to $18. Not necessarily today, but it is looking very, very bad here for Intel. A retest of these lows down around 18 makes some sense. Look, the market's flying. NASDAQ at the highs, ES trying to press toward the highs, and Intel's down 2 points. And it was just right back into the flat bottom break in VWAP. Now we're headed for 20 even. Google just got back out and about. Like it just hit 186 third and a bit of a pullback. I think the longer this can go on, the more I'm going to like maybe a reload at the 85. I still am thinking if we lose 85, wait for VWAP in there. And then Apple is trying to join the party. Took the break. I was kind of holding the break to see if it could get to 248 for me, but I don't like the way this is not continuing. Like if you lose here, I'll probably give it a tight stop and wait for VWAP on Apple. Just keep it tight to the vest. And okay, not everything is good this morning, because this is what just happened. This is what happened to me on AMD. It didn't trade through me. AMD got up and it broke this little candle here, 138. The second it didn't get to 130, I tried hitting it back through 130.90 and missed. And AMD is absolutely tanking to the gates of hell, but I missed my shot at the short, unfortunately, there in Advanced Micro Devices. So it is what it is. We're in Intel, but I should be in AMD. You're still seeing some strength go over into Tesla, or continue into Tesla, I should say, as it's now back above 400. Remember 405? That was the top yesterday. We got right into 405 and failed it. So if we can get through that, it's going to look very, very strong. NVIDIA going, and actually NVIDIA pulling back in. The 140 is going to be key. If we can't hold on to 140, I think we're in a little bit of trouble. And then there was, in the crypto space, Mara didn't break down either, so no opportunities here in Mara. That was the only crypto name I was looking at.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of reassessing this trade. I'm just like, wow, I definitely sold way too much above that 185. Kind of reassessing. I was selling a little aggressively, maybe a little too aggressively. I think a good sell might have been about 50%. I'd say about 30 to 50% as it holds that or kind of stalls in those 30s, and then the hold of that 185, maybe looking to get back in more, or just holding on to that 50% for a pushback up to the next dollar right there. 186 is, so now I'm pretty much out of I'd say over 95% of what I had. Again, the whole trade was let's see if that 82 holds, and if that 82 holds, do we take inventory through that pre-market high? On a pullback, those pre-market highs hold. So another assessment, kind of review of this trade is like, if those pre-market highs are holding on the pullback at 183.60s, why am I not getting more? It's literally showing you that pre-market resistance has turned into intraday support. So it's like, all right, so if I'm seeing that, why am I buying up here going into 185? I should be buying some here on top of that pre-market hold, and then getting more in for that 185 break when it looks nice and juicy. So again, I only have a little bit of a piece left away off of what I did take going into the tape, ramping up into 185, distinctly different from the first couple of tests that we had of that 185. So I'm like, all right, okay, so there's my stop getting clocked out again for the rest as we trade back below that 185 as of right now. But then, yeah, VWAP will be the next place I want to watch. That market tailwind definitely helping us out on that opening drive trade on the goggles there, definitely coming out on top is Alpha right now. So let's see what some of these other constituents are up to as of right now. Wow, NVIDIA had a strong push off the open. Yeah, the NASDAQ is dropping quite aggressively as of right now, but some of these things are holding their highs. Google being one of them, Tesla as well. Tesla got through that 400, traded up to 403.24. Don't forget, yesterday's high is 404.81. So Tesla coming into yesterday's highs. Let's see if that opening drive volume can push us through those highs as well. Amazon with a strong drive, but nowhere near prior day's action. Yesterday's action on Amazon was absolutely amazing as it kind of retraced everything, anything and everything. So here's VWAP right here on the goggles. So let's see, I'm going to be looking at goggles once again. If we can hold 183. Yeah, the back through the 185, it's opening range high as well. Again,
I gave it to 75. That's about it.
Yeah, I gave it to 90s. I was like, I'm not even gonna hold it that much because if it comes back to 185 and I still like the long, there's definitely better prices that I can get. So getting out and getting back in is definitely an edge that we have at a prop firm. Again, doing it with relative ease and fees, which are both on our side. Look at that flush coming right back in. What is the opening price, you may ask? I have 182.84, so trading well above opening price. Let's see some of these pre-market levels, like we said, 183.60s was that support that we got right off of the open. Do we make a higher low off of those 183.60s? I'm definitely watching a little bit of the tape here as we pull back into those 184s. This high was made at 9:48 on the day as of right now. So VWAP's going to be interesting. This pre-market high is going to be interesting. Let's see if there's a nice continuation on the day today. But that opening drive, oh boy, Neil, was that one quite aggressive and scary. So.
You couldn't have lost back through 180. Like the only plays to make, again,
great reason to sell.
It held that 182. If we come to the chart for a sec, yeah, it held the 182. It pulled back into prior high. It broke out 185. The only way you're losing is if you held the 185 all the way into VWAP. And as a matter of fact, it's trying to hold VWAP as we speak. Intel continues to bleed. I'm looking for that 20 level to be able to get to the downside. But Apple's trying to recover. I want to check out just for you guys. Obviously, we can hold VWAP. I like it. NVIDIA is a little bit stronger than everything else now. Now that it's well above VWAP, doesn't seem to want to play back into 140. This is looking pretty strong here, relatively speaking. When you look at what's happening over in the NASDAQ, that is a heck of a reversal candle in the NASDAQ. You know, if we end up breaking these supports down at 21,500, I think you're in a little bit of trouble. And I wanted two things short, and one of them, obviously, we got. We just didn't get that AMD. Got to be patient. I mean, clearly AMD is weak relative to its cohorts here. Although the comparison between AMD and NVIDIA kind of stinks now. Let's go to Adara at the desk.
This part of the show is brought to you by Worksport, introducing a new discovery on the NASDAQ, Worksport, ticker WKSP. Worksport is a US-based manufacturer and is rapidly expanding with growing revenues, government contracts, and innovative green energy products designed to power your life off-grid. Whether you're on the move or seeking sustainable energy solutions, Worksport has you covered. Now trading on the NASDAQ under WKSP. Discover the future of clean energy with Worksport. Back to you.
Wow, that's beautiful. Talking some trades here with Neil. Some beautiful action off of the open there that we were talking about. I was like, Intel, I've been trading it kind of back to back over the past few weeks. We've had a beautiful kind of price action. Again, I would strongly suggest people to kind of go look at that chart on Intel and see what's been happening to it relative to other chip names as well. Beautiful textbook price action on that ticker there. Consolidations, legs, beautiful legs. Oh my God. To the downside, of course, right here on Intel. So yeah, exactly. Thank you for that. I'm definitely. I can't whistle. I've always tried. I've never really got
like at all, or just.
I've tried. I don't think I'm doing it right. But anyways, if I could whistle at these legs on Intel, I definitely would.
Tesla lost 400.
Tesla
again.
lost 400.
No.
All right. So yeah, no, that 400 wash I think is definitely going to be interesting here. But yeah, let's take a look at this Intel chart right here. Triple top at a range consolidation right here. 25 halves breaks down with volume and relative volume all the way to the bottom of the range. Strong continuation with that volume day after day. Bit of a consolidation for 2 or 3 days here. Leg consolidation going for that another leg right here. I should not put that on screen, my alert there, but yeah, nice strong push to the downside here off of that break, and a flush down continuation right here on Intel. So oh boy, a missed trade for me right here on that breakdown. But you know what it is? We miss trades every now and then. I think something that if I have an alert in, especially with expletives telling me to get a certain direction.
Oh, maybe don't show it.
If the price kind of gets through that level, then I'm just like, all right, well, maybe I should have an order already in the market. And yeah, oh boy. So definitely some lessons there. Here comes VWAP on goggles here. So let's see, what is the candle low here?
Under already.
It's under, but here's the thing. VWAP's always a bit of an area for me. So the candle low right now is 24s. We're trading at 50s. So that's about a quarter for me. You know what? I'm going to take a quick stab at that one right there. Let's just risk that quarter and see if we can get a bit of continuation. And if we don't right away, that's perfectly fine as well. I'm not taking any sort of size that I did right off of the open. I'm more than willing to get a little chopped up to see if that VWAP holds. A little bit of a price to pay for a bit of information, if you want to call it there. What's the
no, it's just a thank you for the super. I didn't mean.
Oh boy.
David, thank you for the super chat. I've got a lot of Intel 22 for a long time, but give up. Cry emoji, cut loss. We always say we're not here to give financial advice.
Oh no.
I can look at, like I said, we'll always look at a chart and be able to give you our 2 cents on it. I'm going to be a little bit biased in this, in a certain sense, on the day trade. It depends. If you're ever in a trade where there's obvious support levels, like the flat bottom that just happened at $20.60 or $20 even, and then you've got support down here underneath 19 at about 18.5. Like if you're risking to one of those levels, okay, well it broke one. Was your plan to be out? Or was your plan to hold it here? Like if that's what you can stomach, that's where the next support is. So if you were thinking about this as this could be a bottom that's in on the stock, then your low here is about 18.5, and that's not unreasonable. I don't know what your time frame is. I don't know what your risk tolerance is either. You've just got to decide for yourself. One of those support levels just broke. That's why I'm looking short, at least for the day trade. Let's go over to Adara for happening now.
We have the NASDAQ making quite the journey so far today. We push up right at the open into 525, reject 525, then come back down here. As of right now, we're up 0.33%, but it's worth noting the NASDAQ, these Qs here, holding support right now around 521 halves. There's also the SPY, which is looking a bit different here. We're up about we're barely up on the day here, but also like the Qs trying to hold support, a bit rangier though for that S&P 500 between that 604, almost 605 level with the top here of 605.40. So a tighter range for the SPYs than what we're seeing there with the Qs. Lots to keep an eye on today when it comes to stocks. We'll go over those in a second. There's lots of small caps on the run. We had JP Morgan there upgrading some of these crypto stocks like CleanSpark and Mara. Bit of a lighter day for economic data, but we do have CPI coming on Wednesday morning. So tomorrow morning, then PPI will get on Thursday. So there are always lots to be aware of down the pipeline this week, including earnings. We have Oracle here down about 8.5%. They missed on earnings per share. They missed on sales. They also released guidance here, not actually with the report. They released it a little later during the call, but lower than expected EPS guidance for ORCL. Then we had C3 AI, which is down about 8, almost 9% now here. They beat on earnings per share and sales, but the lower end of their guidance was a bit weaker than expected. And last but not least, this is our ongoing catalyst of the day. It's going to be Microsoft with its shareholder meeting at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. We will have Michael Saylor here. Apparently, he is of MicroStrategies. He's reportedly set to deliver the presentation at Microsoft's shareholder meeting with regards to a potential investment in Bitcoin. It's highly speculated Microsoft will not be, or Microsoft shareholders will vote against this proposal, but it'll certainly be something to watch here at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. Make sure if you're enjoying this content that you hit the like and subscribe buttons and join us every day. Back to you guys.
No, we're just sort of talking about where the strength is and where it might not be between Obi and myself, because I mean that VWAP area hold on Google. It's worth noting this is the hold on Tesla at VWAP, and this is Alphabet for its hold. It does the wick bottom, but now it's pressing lower. I'm back in here at 80s. If we lose this local bottom, got to get out. This is not looking nearly as strong. The market's getting back to the highs, so obviously I like the strength that we're seeing, but this might not be the one today. Like it should be. I mean, obviously Tesla could break 405 any second. I'm looking to buy Apple. It's out and about above VWAP. Prior close 246.75. I think playing it to here and giving it to VWAP is going to make some sense. And Microsoft, super, super strong. I did want to also go over to AMD and NVIDIA for you guys. NVIDIA pulls right into VWAP. Again, it's relatively strong, up 1.74% and looking very, very good here. And then AMD, which we were preferring short, still trending down. Like if this gets to VWAP, I'll probably look for some kind of a short the pop situation on this name. Intel's trying to make a bottom. If it gets to VWAP, I might look for the reload there. But getting into Tesla or Apple, one of the stronger names for long, maybe NVIDIA, is going to make some sense. The market breaks out the highs and Google doesn't go, then got to acknowledge that as good as it was early, that doesn't mean it's the trade for the rest of the day. Like it's still putting in a higher low. I like it. It's holding on to this prior breakout high. That's the only places we bought it is 82 and then here and then the 85 break. So this holds great, but it's not nearly as strong as it was at the open, Obi.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not as strong as it was off the open. I'm kind of just looking at some of these earnings names that we had on watch off of in the pre-market right there. Got Oracle AI, MongoDB, and I was looking at some other ones as well. Maybe not as much talked about. Not really doing too crazy of a volume right now. I'm looking at Ollie, OLLI, Ollie's bargain outlet holdings. Again, they broke that $100 level in the pre-market. Let's talk about it while I kind of let me pull it up while we talk about it right here. So OLLI right here. So you can see a bit of a pullback, holding up some of its levels right here. We'll go down to a 3-minute. Nice little hold on VWAP on goggles. So VWAP is holding on goggles. So I like that. Let's see if we can continue to make higher lows. I definitely do not have enough. Like I said earlier, I have just a portion of what I actually want. I want to see this VWAP hold a little bit nicer, a little bit cleaner for a continuation push. Tesla 405 says Neil. Oh boy, we're going for that one right there. So Tesla is definitely, again, we've seen some of that strength. The thing squeezing on a multi-day stair-step squeeze. You want to see a textbook example of a multi-year stair-step squeeze? Look no further than Tesla. That ticker definitely has a lot of shorts. I guess charged up right there. You can see the Nasdaq ripping right back up towards those highs. So another ticker that I had on watch with off of earnings was FERG, FERG as well. FERG kind of selling off aggressively off of earnings, down over about 11% there. So on FERG, a bit of a continuation happening. So a decent volume. You see that volume expansion coming into the first half hour of the day here. And taking a bit of a pullback there. Strongest volume right here on that VWAP test, and then it trades lower. Oh boy, is FERG poised for a little bit of a lower push? I have no idea, but it seems like the spread is about 20 pennies as of right now here on FERG. Let's take a quick look at AI. Oh boy, AI is pushing to the upside there. 37 hold. AI is, I don't think it's, well, I don't know if it's squeezing. I'm not really watching.
Tesla's coming up for a second salvo here.
What's going on with Tesla?
It looks like it's going for a second salvo on Tesla. I had the breakout. We had the break. It tried to go. It went like 30 cents, maybe 40 tops. I punched out on the way back through 404, actually threw one too many orders and got short and got kind of smoked on the short there. So we'll be down on Tesla today, unfortunately. It might be a good short, but the second time through that 405, this was yesterday's high. I think you want to give it a chance. 410 is the all-time high on a closing basis. 415 is the all-time high on a wick basis. So I still want to give this one a chance to the long side, but we did. I overfilled. It was my own fault. Like actually I was out, and then for some reason my stop didn't clear everything. So I punched out, but then got the fill that I already had out there. So that's a short that I did not want. But I still think you have a chance to go. Maybe a retake of 405 if you can get through the $0.50 is going to be the play. Alphabet, while that was going on, I didn't get an offer out on Alphabet, which now that I've just mistyped Google is going to take a second to load. It's right back into 104.5, but it's struggling to get back to 185. So I think if we get into 185, I want to take some more out in front of the 185 level on Alphabet. But it is Tesla that's looking super strong. If Tesla gets to 410 today, then I have to have some kind of a long, come on, get to zero, and then I can load Tesla. It's still underneath 405 for everybody. And I did want to get to the super chat, and that's what I was going to do, and then Tesla made that move. We got a super chat, and we appreciate all of it. Thank you, David. Thank you, David, twice actually, and then AP. I know you'd like us to include price up here. I'll put in a request for that. It's not something that we can currently do on P Pro 8, but it is something that it just broke 06. So it's not something we can currently do. Tesla just broke 406, new fresh high, so we're back into the long. But that's a request I'm going to put in. I'll put a ticket in for that. I think it's a good idea. I know it's hard to read the prices on the side. I can't enlarge those. If I could, believe me, I'd enlarge them. We can put % up, and I can put the ticker in there. I'd love to be able to do something different and make that easy for you guys to read. It's a great suggestion. I'll definitely pass that along to the team.
Yeah, I'm kind of that Tesla opening drive. Oh boy, that was definitely something there. I think pre-market highs were sitting at 394s, and yeah, aggressive action. We're trading 406s right now, so a nice trade on that, Neil, right here as we continue to push even higher. 407s coming in on Tesla, and those prior all-time highs, don't forget, is sitting at that 414.36. I think it was some pre-market action there on Tesla from 2021, guys. That's split adjusted prices. We were back in the thousands back then. And it seems like Tesla's headed right back to some of those prices right there. So Tesla aggressive to the upside. We were talking about some of these earnings names right here. Don't forget to like and subscribe as we bring you all of these crazy moves right here. 410 saying, Neil, oh boy, yeah.
Oh, we're at 408. 408 is the new high on Tesla. It just continues to run here. Like, we're getting to those all-time highs at this point. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. We appreciate those super chats, and you guys can keep them coming in if you like, and we'll try to answer as many questions as we can. But this is another day, another 5 points here on Tesla. Okay, I know everyone's looking at Tesla right now, rightfully so. It's up 5%. Alphabet's also up 5%, but in a different way. It just got to the 185, so you're getting a nice little push here on Google off of VWAP. But I'm not trying to throw shade on Google. NASDAQ's breaking the high of the day. Alphabet is super strong from the jump, but it's starting to slow down a little bit here. So acceleration in Tesla, deceleration a little bit in Alphabet. It's still winning. Don't get me wrong, like, it's okay, but like, you're buying highs and it's actually working on Tesla. Although if we lose this 405, I think you got to respect the 405 level on the way back through. 405 was yesterday's high. So if it loses yesterday's high, I think you could be at VWAP in an absolute hurry. That's the place that I'll try to buy dips. If it bounces off 405 and gets back above 6, I think it's a bit of an ad. It was just pointed out to me that AMD is at VWAP, which I did not have an alert for or anything like that. I had Intel up because I jumped over to Intel. Intel's not at VWAP. Yeah, I might have missed that trade. But again, Tesla's going crazy, so that's opportunity cost right there for you. I'm in Apple, long, that's basically flat, not really doing much. Google's working. Tesla is now back toward the 407 level, and I'm short on Intel and not AMD. You know, it's interesting. Could be wrong and should be in AMD, but Intel's just as bad, or if not weaker, and it's rolling back over. If it double bottoms at 2020, I'll probably just cover the Intel short as strong as this market is. Tobes, why is Rivian not moving with Tesla? If I had to guess, Tobes, it's because Rivian is Rivian and Tesla is Tesla. No, I mean, Rivian doesn't make money when they sell vehicles. So while they're in the EV space, they don't have to follow Tesla, and it's just pulling into major resistance at $15. That's my guess. Rivian needs to break 15, and if it can't, you know, it's probably pulling back in. Still upward trend, pulling back into like $13 maybe, $12, certainly reasonable. I think that's all that's happening with Rivian.
Yeah, no, I'm watching this action on Apple, kind of waiting for that 250, man. That 250 doesn't seem like it wants to come in right now. And people talking about how Google has lost its momentum there. Yeah, for sure, Google has lost the momentum. But again, want to kind of point out the concept of I guess active versus passive buying here. Again, I think off of the open, you have some aggressive active buying. You pull into VWAP right here, a little bit more passive as we start to consolidate and bid a little bit higher. We got back to 185s as of right now, but as of right now, trading at 184 halves. But yeah, that same kind of aggression and momentum not really there on Google. But if we're looking for a nice little continuation, again, I'm going to be looking for that exchange of passive versus aggressive buying if we're going to trend on the day. And if we're not, that's perfectly fine as well. We break VWAP, trade below it. Give me a place to risk. Where's the next trade on Google? That's what I'm asking. As of right now, the hold of VWAP is quite nice, but let's see if it does it twice and we can get some more in right there. Microsoft coming back into prior day's high. So 450, Neil, almost tested on Softy. 449.60 is the high on MSFT here. So look at that. Would you look at that?
Castle's back on 405.
405. Okay, so Tassel with a bit of a hassle right there on Tesla right there. So
Hold on, say that again.
I call it Tassel.
Tassel. Oh, it just wicked it.
Okay.
This might still be good.
Yeah, no, so 449.60 is the high on Softy right now. I'm looking for that 250 on Apple. Again, Apple all-time highs. We see that it's been kind of running to the upside over the past few days right here. Look at this Apple. Absolutely beautiful right here. But I'm looking to take a bite off of that 250 if it'll have me. Strong action yesterday. Let's go to the 15-minute just so that we can see. It's weak today, Neil, but here's the thing, man. We had that aggressive action right here. We pulled back to 246s, which is the range low. We saw that catalyst intraday that came in on Apple, and I was actually short here underneath this double top of 247.24s. And we got that aggressive selling, and I was like, oh boy, I'm going to look for VWAP, and it was over a point flush down to the downside. I'm like, all right, VWAP's definitely going to come in now. Boy, was I wrong on that one. Aggressive bidding back up, and then it breaks back above through reference prices for when that news came out intraday. I'm like, oh boy, that's definitely a little bit of a bid. I don't want to step in the way of that one right here. And we get that same aggressive bid right off of the open here as we dip into 246s here on Apple and rip right back up above that VWAP. 248.02's pre-market highs, intraday highs sitting at 247.78s. Trading on top of VWAP at 247.08s right now on Apple. So yeah, I'm looking for that continuation push. Let's look at a 30-minute real quick, and oh boy, does that 30-minute look real nice with that bottom wick coming in on that first candle right here as the NASDAQ pushes back up into that 21.6 mark right here. And Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Tesla, NVIDIA, even the Spider, Neil. The Spider is at highs.
Yeah, now the market's starting to look.
It's like, all right, well, maybe you want to look for a little bit of a continuation, but I want that 250. So the question becomes, do we trade it like a Google and try to accumulate inventory to take into that 250? Because if we think that 250 is on its way, or do we kind of wait for that 250 to come in and take it through the 250 when it does come in? I have no idea just yet. I'm waiting for this consolidation to kind of pan itself out and manifest. But as of right now, with this market looking hella strong and Apple holding on to this VWAP and doing some volume here, while the rest of its buddies, the Mag 7s and the top constituents, trade higher to the upside. There is one that I am not watching right now, which is Meta. Let's take a quick look at that one right here. Meta is also pretty strong, Neil. So let's go over to Meta and take a quick look at this one right here. So these are two 30-minute candles. We'll go down to the 3-minute to see the trend a little bit better. The pullback to VWAP holds as well on this one for a continuation up to the quarters. 625 halves is the high of day. Now, we can't forget AVGO. Again, not necessarily part of the Mag 7, but definitely part of the top 10 constituents here. So definitely one to keep a watch on, and not just Broadcom. We also have to keep an eye on Berkshire as well, as again, they are definitely one of the top 10 when it comes to the spiders there. So AVGO with a strong selling right here, which reminds me, I got to keep an eye on TMIS, but we'll take a quick look at
just one more thing.
Berkshire.
There was just a wick under VWAP on Apple.
Oh boy.
So I was in front end on a breakout trade. I'm in front end on a VWAP test, but it just wicked green to red on Apple. Underneath VWAP, closing price 246.75. I got out. It's like, no, if it's holding VWAP, I got out because I'm in on the front. And if it's going to hold now, it stops people out, get back in, same price, same stop, able to accumulate, holds under 2040. I'm probably adding to this one to the short side. If it holds under VWAP while the market's making highs, I think this is going to be a bit of an add. So I want to give myself a bit of a chance to be able to add to this. And then AMD, I might be pivoting away from AMD short to just keeping with Intel. AMD's holding VWAP. It might be making this press back to that double bottom. So I liked it short initially, but it's a bit different now, especially if we get a bounce and run here on NVIDIA. Just keep in mind, if NVIDIA loses support here, AMD's at VWAP, Intel's trying to press, they could all be shorts if this breaks the 140 to the downside. So a lot to consider. Apple's the one that we're back into. I keep seeing in the chat a lot of AMD long, but it might just be Milky Way. You can say it once, Milky Way. I'm not short AMD, and I was thinking short this morning. It just feels like Intel is the better short. Intel's down 2 points, AMD's down a half. AMD already worked. Now all of a sudden it's breaking higher. So I don't think I'm shorting the pop on AMD today. So good luck to your longs, Milky Way. Let's go handle some business with Obi.
Yeah, so trade the pool. Imagine trading with someone else's capital instead of your own. That's what it means to be a funded trader at Trade the Pool, and this is how it works. Complete the evaluation program by meeting profit targets. Once you succeed, you trade the pool's capital, which allows you to trade with up to $260,000 in buying power. The best part is that you keep up to 80% of your profits while the firm takes the risk. It's the ultimate way to trade. Whether you're a beginner or a professional trader, go and check tradethepool.com. Yeah, definitely.
Shout out to Trade the Pool. That competition was fire.
Yeah.
The market is fire.
Some of those tickers traded in that competition as well. I'm just like, all right, well, interesting tickers nonetheless. Definitely. I mean, there's definitely edge in small caps. I feel like, but small to mid caps, I think. But yeah, you were saying
if you're doing a competition,
yeah,
right? Like you got to understand, like in order to win, when there's like thousands of people in a trading competition, you might have a little bit of a different strategy than if you're trading to try to make a living or be consistent every single day. So yeah, you get a lot of the small cap runners, which are going to give you that big percentage return, which might not be as consistent. Speaking of small caps, let's go to Adara for the small cap recap.
IWM consolidating here around low of day. Yesterday, we were interacting continuously with that 240 level. We are right now holding on to 236.50s, bit of a bottoming tail candle, but IWM right now a little bit restless. We'll have to wait and see what the rest of the day holds. Lots of small cap gappers to discuss here, starting with ICCT. It seems like this one is only escalating in terms of volume. Its name is iCore Connect. It is up about 60% right now. It has run in the past. It's a penny stock here. No news catalyst. We have a market cap of roughly $6 million, so that might be higher since we just had this run today. It also does have a float here of about 8.6 million shares. Then we have Cardiff Oncology, CRDF. This one up here about 50%, announcing some positive data for one of its trials here for Huntington's disease. They also announced that they've priced this oversubscribed $40 million underwritten direct offering. They have a 16.2% short float here as well, CRDF. And last but not least, we've got CMRX here, Chimerix. So this one is a pharmaceutical company as well, up over 250%, announcing some accelerated approval here, or they're going to submit here for accelerated approval for the FDA with regards to one of its mutant diffuse glioma treatments before the end of the year. So within the next few weeks, one would assume. So this is CMRX, also pushing to the upside. If you guys like the content, make sure you like and subscribe. Join us every day, guys.
Thank you very much, Adara. That Soundhound, it's having all kinds of trouble with buying above $15 yesterday, really giving up the ghost at a $16 level, closing, resisting 15. It just broke back above. You always got to be careful with these when they show a big level that the buyers aren't really continuing through, and then it puts in a lower high. Sometimes it can just fill the rest of it, fill back into $14. Does make a little bit of sense here, at least from what I'm seeing in SOUN. So I'd be a little bit cautious with that. Alphabet seems to want to, it gets trying, it's back above 180. Okay, it was back above 185, got to the $0.50, now starting to pull back. I think the reloads are here at VWAP and 184 as long as we can get them. Intel still holding underneath VWAP. Did miss a chance to get fills in the 40s up here. I was still in some shares from 58 when I took a fill at 38, but so that's why I'm priced as 44. But I want to get fills a little bit tighter to 2045 if we are able to. And Ganymede investing.
Ooh.
Like that's the first time. I love that. Ganymede investing. Anybody that doesn't know, Ganymede is like a rather large. I guess
Yeah, where do I know that from?
oh, it's a moon. It's
Oh, it's when
but if you're-
Jupiter's
but if-
moves?
no, but if you're into if you watch The Expanse, then
Okay.
it's one of the bigger colonies.
Yeah.
I think Ganymede.
Like, I know
might be
know
the
that name from something.
biggest- Is it a moon or is it? It's the size of a dwarf, but it's the size of a dwarf planet. No, sorry, no, you're right. Yeah,
Largest moon in our solar system.
yeah, I thought it's a moon.
Yeah,
It's
it
a moon,
is.
but it's the size of, but it's the size of a. What did I just say? Dwarf planet.
Jupiter's
It's
moon.
huge.
Yeah, let's go.
It's gigantic. It's
Jupiter
huge.
3. I was like, yeah, I know. I was like,
Love the name. That's all.
Old Cosmos, absolutely beautiful, great show, and I think the new Cosmos as well with Neil deGrasse Tyson is absolutely dope as well. I really like the remake that they did off of that show. I'm sure you've seen Cosmos.
Well, of course.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful.
Might be a little bit of a nerd. You know what? One of my proudest moments happened the other day as a parent, and we were watching The Sound of Music this weekend.
Okay.
Because my daughter was like, I forget how it even came up, but watching The Sound of Music. And then all of a sudden, like a third of the way through, she's like, yeah, this is kind of boring. I want to watch that. I want to watch that space movie. And it was, because we've been talking about Apollo and
Okay, yeah,
Apollo
yeah,
13.
yeah.
And I'm not talking about the movie Apollo 13. My daughter would rather watch the documentary on Apollo 13 than The Sound of Music, my 7-year-old daughter. And at that moment, I seriously wanted to cry. I'm like, I'm doing everything right in life.
Let's go.
That's what she wanted to do in that moment. So I was very happy, needless to say. I'm a bit of a, I would go to space if it ever gets reasonably feasible.
I mean, I'm sure.
Probably
it will.
not going to happen.
I mean,
Also,
we're
Apple doesn't
landing
wanna
rockets,
hold-
Neil.
Apple doesn't want to hold VWAP, so I'm slapping the fail on that one. The market's at highs, and we're struggling to hold VWAP on Apple.
Yeah.
But like yesterday, if I'm buying dips and it's not holding the level I want, then I have to wait for the level that it is really working off of, which is 246. So I guess if it can hold the low, fair enough. I'll take another swing if it can get back above 247. But like, how many times you want to give up 30, 40 pennies on it before you just sort of walk away? Apple not going here. Intel going down. I wanted to go over to NVIDIA. Obviously, this is holding into VWAP, looking at least pretty good here. I've given away AMD at this point. I don't think I want to be involved in that one to the south side. I'll stick with Intel because it's got that big level. And then I wanted to go over to C3AI, which is on New York, Neil.
New York.
So initially at the open, it holds underneath that support and dumps. But now it's it was SSR, so it did go 10% down and bounce. So now it's an SSR bounce play. The initial short good, the short back into here was good, but now you're into an SSR bounce play on C3AI. So we probably missed any reasonable chance to look for a short on C3AI. Here's a name that's relatively strong. Like, I'm sitting there looking at Apple. It's like, yeah, you can want it to go. Google's doing well today. Microsoft is the one. There's the dip in the VWAP on Microsoft. As clean can be. Here are higher lows on Microsoft. There is a lack of green candle, or red candles, I should say, on Microsoft. You're breaking out on the daily. You're at another lower high resistance on the daily if it can break out the 450 level. So Microsoft just looks a little bit better than Apple at this moment. And you can come in with a plan of action, but you don't have to be stubborn about it. Like I can come in the morning saying AMD is the chip name I want to go short. But when all of a sudden Intel breaks a major level and is weaker than AMD, then you should have no problem pivoting over to Intel and saying, no, this is the short, not AMD, right? Like I can stick to, and don't get me wrong, AMD was a great short off the open. I just think at this particular moment, Intel looked like the better one. Although, I mean, this is kind of setting up. If you're still into it, like it's still setting up off of 130 on AMD. It's just Intel a little bit weaker, that's all.
Yeah, this VWAP hold on Google is working for now as the market kind of chops up and consolidates right here. So kind of just like chilling, waiting, and just being patient for what the next trade may or may not be. Nvidia taking a bit of a pullback here. Prior bars are breaking after a prior inside bar as well, so maybe we're poised for a bit of a pullback here. I like this VWAP hold. This is what I was looking for that continuation for us to come back into VWAP. We have made a lower high though, just shy of 185.5, so that's something that I'll be continuing to watch for. Now again, if I take this VWAP out of the way, and you can see this beautiful chart right here without any sort of indicators to kind of get in the way. You can see that we're holding a bit of this trend as well, roughly as of right now. But kind of a bigger picture, I'm looking at the trend from this pre-market volume that did kind of come in as well to kind of assess if we do pull back, where can I potentially look for a bit of a bid here. And yeah, so let me just get that lower here. So all the way down to 181. So now we would have to break and crack through a lot of levels to get down there. So I'm glad we're trading above that. We're trading on top of this, off of the open on the pullback, this 183.5. I like that as it holds not only some of these pre-market highs, the pre-market consolidation going into the open as well, opening range highs as well here on a 3-minute. You can see this consolidation holds. So it's a bit of a double bottom, roughly, if you want to call it that. But again, what is a double bottom but just a place where price has held a couple of times on the on a given time frame. Here we're looking at the intraday, and then off of the open, pullback, strong pullback off of that 185, holds that pre-market high, pushes up for some fresh highs, pulls all the way back in. Bit of a confluence with that 183.60s plus VWAP, plus some consolidations as well intraday, and we trade a little bit higher here. So this, I think, was a scalp in itself. I didn't really take anything off because, like I said, I didn't have as much here because I wasn't necessarily confident in the move. I'm not really looking at the tape as aggressively as I would like to, but it gives you the strong bid. It shows you. But as of right now, we top out at that 185 halves, trading a little bit lower here. Let's see if we hold this 183.80s, Neil, going into the rest of the day. Oh boy, Softy, what's up?
Before we go to Adara, I want to dispel a myth for everybody in the chat. You do not have to send a super chat for us to respond to you. All you got to do is, if you're a subscriber, then you can be in the chat. If you tag myself or Obi, like just type in like @ and then type my name, it'll pop up.
Yes.
That's the easiest way to get my attention. I did see everyone, and again, like we're live trading, obviously, and we're trying to cover as much as we can. I did see a lot of people talking about Boeing in there, and I know we gave our thoughts in the pre-market and did not cover it on this big power move to the upside. Boeing up 5 points. It did get to that 65 level that I was more saying it needs to close above 165. If a 15-minute can close above 165, I'll like that continuation. Otherwise, 163, and if you look at a daily chart, look at these closes and opens at the 163 area, and then look at the wick to 163. So if we don't hold 165 now, I think a pullback into this area, VWAP to 163, perfectly reasonable. That would be a good place to join. And I need money. I know I don't have to explain that, but I just wanted to anyways. At the end of the day, we have a great community, and we always want to give you guys as much of our attention as possible. Speaking of which, might have been the right call to jump away from Apple. It's now holding underneath VWAP. And I think this is like, now if we get down to 246, you got to be at least a little bit concerned that we're losing this bid. So you're starting to come back in. You have a couple of, you have back-to-back potential red candles on the NASDAQ, although you're still holding some higher lows. I see Alphabet now pulling right back into our entry zone, 183.5 to 184. Now, I did add to this. I first bought it closer to 183.5 and added it to it at 184, so it's kind of a first in, first out kind of deal. So my average price, was in the 80s, and now it's just going to stay the flat. But I'm giving it back into this $0.50, and if it holds VWAP, we'll look for an add on the curl. I want it to make a bottom and then jump in. And another name which I feel like might have got ignored, Palantir on the comeback trail.
Ooh.
Holding VWAP all morning. And it did reject 75, but it's coming right back into 75. So some strength going into Palantir. I'm trying to reload back into Google if we can. And as the market might be bouncing here, I just saw this candle on my 3-minute on Intel, which is suggesting to me that is the type of lower high that I might want to be, like that wick here at a higher low. I might want to cover some if I can get some 32s on Intel, or I could just cross. And the second I go to cross, now I'm probably going to have to pay down a little bit. I'm going to bid it up to 34. That's a bit of a bottoming tail candle. I think we could be headed for another VWAP test here on Intel. Market's about to break the highs again. Looking for reload VWAP on Google. And let's go to Adara for crypto.
Hey, probably one of the biggest crypto stories today. Hasn't even happened yet. We're going to be watching here in about an hour, and I keep bringing this up, but I think it's definitely worth remembering. Microsoft is having its annual shareholder meeting. Now, who knows? There's a lot of different things that could come from that, but one thing we know is going to be voted on is whether or not the company should invest some of its holdings here. I think they said roughly 1% in Bitcoin. This proposal is reportedly going to be presented here by MicroStrategy CEO and Chairman Michael Saylor, who's already posted a presentation of what he would say to Microsoft on YouTube as well as of December 1st. You can find that online. So this could be pretty interesting. It's also worth noting in the actual proposal, which is again something you can find on Microsoft's website as well. It's all pretty accessible. On their proposal here, the proxy proposal, Microsoft, or the proposal to Microsoft mentions that MicroStrategy stock specifically has well outperformed Microsoft's on a year-over-year basis, which they attribute in part to the strength of Bitcoin. Also, Bitcoin being strong this year. So there's a lot for Microsoft shareholders to consider, though it's worth noting the probability of them accepting this proposal is very low. I think Kalshi added around 13%, which Sharif brought to us earlier today. And it's also worth noting that the board itself advised shareholders to vote against the proposal. So we'll wait and see what happens, but I will be covering that as of 11:30 when that event begins. Now, we have a very interesting level here on Bitcoin on the daily chart. Basically, since that 91,000 support resistance flip here, as of Tuesday, November 26th, we've generally had higher highs, higher lows. As of right now, though, we're potentially making a slightly lower low if we can't hold on to this 97,000 area. This is support here that we're holding from earlier last week, but we'll have to wait and see what we do with this. Right now, a doji candle on BTC. Bitcoin down about 1%, Ethereum down about 6% here. This was holding on to 3,700s earlier today, well below that level now. XRP down 13%, Solana down 6%, BNB down almost 7%, Doge down 11%, Cardano down 12%. Basically, to put a very long story short, a lot of crypto sharply weak today. Bitcoin actually looks pretty good by comparison here, guys. Back to you.
Yeah,
not a pullback on Doge.
Well, I mean, look, you're going to get outsized moves in these altcoins. I mean, that's just what it is. Like, if we're not breaking away from 100,000, then Bitcoin doesn't necessarily have to flush. But if we're not holding above, then those followers that we're trying to do some catch up, they're looking a little bit weak. And when I say a little, you can mean a lot. Now, all of a sudden, looking a little bit weak is Alphabet. If it can't hold on here, we're probably going to have to jump out. I haven't reloaded it because where is your reason to reload? There is zero reason to be reloading this trade. So unless it makes the bounce here and give you some higher lows, it's just going to be an out, ouch. Hands off. Like, there's the stop, there's the out. You've got to try to stay disciplined. This is just not running the way that I wanted to off of that VWAP holding. You got the higher lows, then you get a lower high and lots of VWAP. Now we wait for 182, but the NASDAQ is also testing trend. So I'm going to get out. I don't mind getting back in. That's certainly part of the plan. To be sure to stick with it as long as it holds the 182. And I'm only smirking because of Jofi Young in the chat here. Still no Christmas jumpers. When are they coming? So look, we have fun here at Trader TV Live. Yep. At Halloween, we'll dress up. We usually do like an ugly Christmas sweater thing, like the last show before Christmas. Like, I'm probably not.
I got a good one for this year.
You know what? I have a feeling maybe I'll just wear one a couple of days that week and wear a different one, and then wear the new one a little bit later. But yeah, it's not going to wear one every single day in December. That's not how we roll.
I remember I have a good one this year. I think I remember last year was pretty. I guess it was pretty wild. It's pretty poppin'. I don't know if you remember from
what did you do?
I've only worn that sweater once because I'm like, this is a bit much. The Christmas sweater. But it was like an ugly sweater, but like people were like, it's not really that ugly. I'm like, well, in terms of like the color splatter, I don't know. We have to go back to the last Christmas stream and kind of pull it up. You know, I'll have it pulled up for the afternoon show potentially. But I found one on a trip this year where I was just like, I gotta have it. It's one of those sweaters where you see something and you're like, yeah, I gotta have that.
I do
of
that a
those.
lot.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. That's how I have most of my ugly Christmas sweaters. Like I just see it. I'm like, ooh,
Yeah,
that's
the
kinda
one.
jokes.
That's
And
the
you
one.
know what else you might see and realize that that's the one?
Oh boy.
E-signal once you sign up. As a trader, charts are your window to the markets. Now, how you're going to be able to find opportunities, how you're able to track your strategies, how you're able to test out indicators. Now, e-signal, you got an easy-to-use platform where all that data is going to be in one place. You want to be able to trade smarter, not harder. And you do that by having something which is going to do some of the work and heavy lifting for you. You're able to use every single indicator you want to backtest strategies so that when you go live with a strategy and put capital toward it, you actually have some confidence in that strategy. On top of that, eSignal allows you to create watch lists and quote boards so that you can screen for the best opportunities that work for you. Tick Replay gives you a chance to look at big breakouts, one that didn't work today on Tesla, which might be actually working right now if you want to jump back into that. That's how you refine your trading, by going back sometimes and looking at the actual executions of your strategy. Looking at 5-second charts, 1-second charts, sometimes can do that for you on your fills. So eSignal, you can always scan that QR code, check the link in the description. If you're trying to step up your trading game, you want to do it where everything is all in one place for a professional trading platform. So check out eSignal today. Shout out to them, doing a fantastic job. I think now Google's starting to look better. I jumped out, kind of left the stop in, never
out.
really. What's that?
I got stopped out and it slipped me 20 pennies. That was crazy.
Well,
like my stop was sitting at 25s. I got filled 07s.
Well, it was, yeah, it did. Like, it did a move all the way down to 182.30, or sorry, 182.80. And now it's starting to curl off 183. So, like, I feel like I should already have, as I was literally reading the signal, I probably should be back in at the 183. I'll give it a little bit of a chance. Let me just go back. I did get filled. I didn't get the offer. Oh, that's why I didn't get the offer on Intel, because I offered 40. Yeah. Because I offered 48 instead of. I offered 48
How are those Intel trades working? They're working well?
Well, it's underneath VWAP,
Yeah.
but instead of 50 holding, now like here is holding, so you need to be shorting it at 40 into 40 instead of at 50. So that was a bit of a mistake as Intel continuing to work to the downside. Time to see what sectors are strong and what are weak at the board with Adara. Almost said the desk.
A lot of these sectors are looking really tepid this morning. A lot of weakness in finance, though BX and AXP both really strong. Health technology, pretty red here across the board. Producer manufacturing, utilities, health services. We know this sector has been on watch with regards to what happened to the United Healthcare CEO. UNH had a big volume spike yesterday when Luigi Magnone was arrested in connection. So keep an eye here on UNH because this one does have the potential to move. We also have some weakness here in distribution and process industries. Now, in terms of strength, no surprise here, there's a lot of Meg 7s and NASDAQ names are running the show as we have the NASDAQ outperforming the SPY. We have Tesla here leading the consumer durable sector to the upside. Retail trade, Amazon holding down the fort. Then we have to talk about here technology services. Meta, Microsoft, Google all sharply to the upside in all three with Catalyst. Meta getting a price target increase from Piper Sandler. Google here with their quantum chip actually announced yesterday, but the stock getting that reaction today. And then Microsoft here with their shareholder meeting starting 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. In contrast, electronic technology, we have nothing really going on here in the Meg 7s of this name, both roughly flat of the day, and a lot of weakness in these chips, guys. Back to you.
Chips with the dip.
Strength coming into Oracle, though.
Oh, yeah.
Oracle, it might be down 7%, but it is on the comeback trail. So it never really came to that 180 we were talking about, but it could get there now. Look at the double bottom wick. This is right at the open. It sells right into the overnight lows. Remember, you're watching the aftermarket show. It was a 9% expected move. That's effectively where it bounced. That's where it bounces again today. Sometimes we talk about those levels for a reason. If you happen to be trading this name, that's where you want to be able to grab it. I think you have the 180 looming for some strength over here in Oracle. So if it does get to there, I was thinking it was a short trade if we get to that price. You know, all bets. It still has to set up. I'd probably look for some kind of a mean reversion trade. Right now I'm sitting on the bid, trying to grab 183 with a local stop on Alphabet underneath 182.74 for a trend continuation. I don't want to chase it into VWAP, but if we can, we'd like to grab it. And then Mara while all this was happening, and shout out to Tomas in the chat. Is it Thomas? Or I'm saying Tomas because that's what it looks like to me. 96,000 on Bitcoin coming in. Mara broke the low, then wicked above, back, and this is yesterday's low, wicked back above, and is now holding underneath that 23.7. So it's in the midst of a breakdown that we were looking for. But the other thing I wanted to make sure, of course, was, hey, what are we doing over here on BTC, right? Like, are we actually looking relatively weak? Well, you just made a fresh test underneath 97,000 into 96, so you are trending down. This is going to set up Mara for a short in here, just back to that prior high. So, like, if you get back in and start breaking out like 23.90, then kind of an easy dump. But I want to look for a setup now short in this range, giving it to 23.90, as long as you're not really screaming in Bitcoin. Yeah, Marie. Apple's below VWAP. It's not looking very good. Microsoft seems like the stronger one. Google, I want to give it a chance for a continuation. I feel as long as it's holding on to 82, I want to take some shots at it. But Microsoft seems like it might be the strong one here. Microsoft's about to break those highs and could break a 450. It's not even getting to VWAP at that point.
Yeah, the 450.
So, the pivot away from Apple seems to me to be an obvious one. Apple just went red on the day.
Yeah, Apple at 250 may not come in, but that softy 450 may come in sooner than we think. So I'm going to keep an eye on out on that one there. A lot of people in the chat talking about AI ripping C3 AI. Yes, sir, it definitely is ripping. We talked about that anchored VWAP in the pre-market that was holding so well off of yesterday's reaction. Again, this anchored getting pinned to that reaction candle right there at 404 right after the market close. You can see that aggressive volume that does come in. We get to a high of 49 halves. Can't really break that 50, and oh boy, it kind of comes down all the way back down into reference price lows right here. Bids back up in the pre-market session, but take a look at where it finds a little bit of resistance, just in and around that 46 level, which happens to confluence with that anchored VWAP from yesterday. So coming in today, we hold some prior anchors here as well. We claim days VWAP, and we push up into that anchored, and that's where we find some strong selling. Not the first kind of selling on the day, but definitely some selling after the break of that opening range high. Pulls back into days VWAP, holds 39.40s where VWAP is sitting at. Now we're pushing for some fresh highs on the day here, but I think we still have a lot of levels to get past with reference to what happened overnight and in the pre-market. You can see some of this consolidation high, 43 halves. You can see this low right here from the after hours, 42 halves. We're trading 41.80 right now. This consolidation low from the pre-market right here, 42 halves again. So that 42 half could be interesting. We tried to hold that 42 half on that sell-off off of the anchored VWAP in the pre-market. We barely have any sort of a bounce, and look at the type of volume and the price action that comes in once we break back down below that 42 half. Aggressive selling, some elongated bars all the way down into 38s where it kind of finds a little bit of a slowdown here at 38 to 37. So 37 hold off of the open there, pushing up into 42s. So I think I got a message for an ad read there. So I think we'll go to that.
This part of the show is brought to you by Firefly Neuroscience. Firefly Neuroscience is revolutionizing brain health with cutting-edge brain network analytics. Powered by the world's most comprehensive EEG database. This technology provides precise insights for treating cognitive disorders like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, as well as traumatic brain injuries like concussions. With FDA 510K clearance and CE mark approval, Firefly is paving the way for a future where brain health is clear, accessible, and personalized. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Sarah Dare. Shout out to Firefly. Oh, here comes Google back. So first things, Mara did pull back, so looking for an entry candle kind of like this one. It just wicked back into 23.90, and so now you have a bit of a topping tail candle. So that's what when I was sort of talking about looking for an entry in this 75, I wanted it first to do this type of a rejection, like play back, confirm resistance. Let's just make sure I have my stop in. We'll throw it above that 90 level. And then now if we can hold underneath 23.75, there might be ads down there and play into the low. Bitcoin's holding 96,000, so you're not cratering or anything like that, but we do like that one to the south side because of this flat bottom that's breaking. So this is more of a play that if you hold underneath here and don't get back above 24, I think you could see 23. My risk is about 15 pennies or so, which is pretty light risk relative to the fact that if we flush, you could see 22 and a half, 23 bucks. I think is a potential downside if we do a complete rollover. That said, guess what just came back into 103, 183. Oh. If Google got to 103, we got other issues.
Yeah.
No, I mean, if Google sees 103, then,
On an intraday candle?
No, I just mean in a general sense.
Oh, yeah.
Then you probably had some kind of major global event.
Would you buy the dip?
At 103?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's 183 bucks, man.
Remember when NVIDIA was at 100 and I was like, yo, NVIDIA's probably not going to see 100 for a very long time, and it's just like, boom, that holds the 100. What are we trading at on NVIDIA now? Where's NVIDIA?
By the
142.
way,
so again, the 40 points above, yeah, it's not bad.
By the way, just to acknowledge, there is this, there's a runner out here which is doing the stair step, this CMRX. You actually watched this one?
Yeah, I saw this one in the morning, yeah.
So I just saw in the chat there, it was Ali in the chat on CMRX. Look, this one looks good. Anytime you pull, like you have to aftermarket support at $2, and then at the open, they sell right into aftermarket support and then stair step up. Like that's a good look. Whether or not it continues, like I don't know. Like I can't. I'm not in the game of being able to predict the future. Otherwise, every single trade would work. That reload in Alphabet just didn't, so you can see that. But I like the fact that it's holding VWAP. I think usually I'd rather be in these things with a tighter stop. Like when you get this wick, then I like these types of entries here at like a 280 to 285, and then you give it to that bottom. I don't want to chase it all the way in the middle between the high and between VWAP. Like this is the level of confluence. I would like it in that range. But if it continues to stair step, I think you've got yourself a good one on CMRX. And when you zoom it out, like it's a day 2 type play. So no one ever went broke taking profit. Usually these types of names, they're down here for a reason. It doesn't mean they can't continue, but they are trades in my book, as opposed to, unless you know something about the company and have a reasonably comfortable explanation for why you think it can continue to go. It absolutely could. I don't really know anything about them. It's more of a, hey, just look for the continuation type play on momentum and leave it at that. That's my approach. So it looks pretty good, at least for now. But no one ever went broke taking profit. I like this VWAP.
Yeah, I think VWAP's always a great place to kind of look at the tape, I think, and look for points where participants may or may not kind of hold the line or maybe not hold the line. But I'm looking at NVIDIA. NVIDIA definitely not holding the line here, Neil. Oh boy, I got a line in there. What did we reject off of now? I got to pay better attention to my charts. Bit of a key level. We saw some selling off of there yesterday, and we wicked that by 2 pennies. Okay, I'm gonna go back and look at that one a little bit later there. But yeah, no. NVIDIA, look at this reversion, man. Absolutely wild. We hold prior bar lows on the 3-minute until we don't here at 141.20s with a high of 141.80. So, okay, what are you risking? You're risking, let's do a little bit of measurements here. So if you're taking a reversion to the downside, what are you really risking here for a push down? Let's take a quick look at that one to the high. So what is that? That's about roughly about 60 pennies. If you take it into VWAP, that'll give you about a 1.6 to 1, but it's given you all the way down to day lows. Sure, you're not going to be like, all right, well, we're going to revert all the way V-shaped down to the lows. That's that doesn't happen very often, but you're holding a piece on. That piece is definitely give you a bit of a 4 to 1 off of the highs if you're risking this appropriately. Now, again, you don't necessarily have to get in on the trend break. Look at this consolidation, lower highs, lower highs. So if you're getting in and around this area here and you see that it's rejected a key level or prior days levels or prior days consolidation lows right here. I don't know how far back this line comes from, but a bit of a multi-time frame level that I do have marked off here as a horizontal support and resistance, apparently coming into play as of right now. But right now, Neil, I think we have a bit of a guest.
We do have our good friend from the OTC markets. It's Mr. Mendel, Jeff Mendel from the OTC markets. Jeff, How are you doing on this fine Tuesday?
Okay, so let's see. I fell asleep for most of the third quarter. I woke up and okay. Can we get an explanation here as to how you block a punt and then you fumble the punt and then you let the Bengals score 3 plays later? I don't. I don't know.
Actually, so this is actually, you know, I love technical analysis, and we explain trades all the time. So explaining the mechanics is actually quite simple. So what ends up happening is you have a bad special teams and a bad special teams coach where you attempt to kick the ball, the punter, and then the trajectory of the kick is unable to evade any outstretched body parts of the other team. That results in a block, usually because your team stinks. That's what happened there. The good news, I think, for yourself and any Cowboys fans out there, Jeff, is at least what you're able to do or going to be able to do is turn off the game, not watch when they're on prime time in the evenings, and go trade Moon overnight markets, because you'll probably be better off enjoying trading than watching the Dallas Cowboys flounder away a season. So that's just my 2 cents. So shout out to overnight trading, because you'd rather do that than watch the Cowboys any day of the week.
Oh, okay. So first of all, Neil, I got a lot to say there right now. We're gonna put Moon ATS, your future listed ATS for overnight trading. We're also going to talk about prime time. You mentioned prime time, and so what can we get prime time in Dallas with his son Shador? I think that's the answer. That's it. It has to be. I don't know. I don't know what else.
You see me.
He's not cutting it in axe stack.
You see me shaking my head, and I feel like Jerry Jones will make a way for it to happen. Dion and Shador.
So. His home is in Jerry World. It really is.
I agree.
Anyway,
but I'll still hate on the Cowboys. Go ahead. Let's talk about Moon, because for anybody that doesn't know, and all of you is out there, if you haven't tuned in the last time or a couple times Jeff's been on, it's been like a one-trick pony for the overnight markets, and now you guys are coming into the game, which I think is going to be a big deal, because there's lots of opportunities trading in the evening when there is news, whether it's the election, whether it was when Tesla had the robo-taxi event. It could be overnight earnings, or maybe you have a conference call and a reaction to it after the fact. There's a tremendous trading opportunity that people are really excited about in the overnight markets, and Moon is going to be coming live soon.
Yeah, so so this is, I guess, for people who have already been trading in the overnight hours, right? And so it may be daytime wherever you are, right? Obviously, I think I say that all the time, right? But Moon ATS, it's for 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. Eastern time. It's for listed securities, right? And ETFs as well too. So Apple, Nvidia, SPY, you name it, right? It's going to be available to trade starting January 15th on Moon ATS. And so Moon itself, right, you're going to be able to enter an order, and then if it moves to where you can enter an order that crosses the spread, right, get an execution, enter an order sitting there for a level maybe that you're comfortable buying or selling your shares into. You can put out a limit order in that sense, right? There's going to be a market data feed. So what does that mean for you guys? So that means you're going to see bids and offers out there on this market data feed, and hopefully your platform has it. Not just yours, Niels, but hopefully whoever's listening, hopefully it's available on there as well too, for you to actually be able to see where those bids and offers are and see when trades go off. And so really, we're really excited about this. It's definitely kind of scaling out our existing infrastructure, our existing client base, all the broker dealers that are connected to us, to offer it out to their clients as well too. And so, like I said, January 15th, we're going to do the top 100 names, and then quickly, probably within like a week or so, roll out the rest. As well too. So really looking forward to this. Also, at the same time, we are starting. So no one trades OTC names overnight. We are also doing, kind of a launch of that as well too, right at the same time. And so that means ADRs, right? So anything that's your ADRs, Canadian symbols, right?
So you're talking about
Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, as well too. And so it's basically any U.S. equity we'll be able to trade in that session. So, you guys always talk about the listed stuff, right? I'm going to throw it in for Nintendo right now. Nintendo, it's down a couple percent today. There's a lot of trading activity going on in there. That's NTDOY. Same thing. Luck and Coffee is actually down 6%.
Oh, wow.
Not sure why that is today, but
The Chinese ADRs are weak today.
going
Could just
off.
be that.
Yeah.
There's Nintendo down.
So yeah, Nintendo, Luckin, DD, right? So all of these names, and then all your favorite listed names as well too. So definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, Luckin, obviously the Chinese ADRs were big runners yesterday. Like if you were trading this in yesterday's trade when the Chinese stocks were strong, obviously good, and now today a little bit weaker. But that's the thing. There are opportunities where these are moving. And just a reminder to everybody, Jeff, like when you have earnings in like a Nintendo, I mean, your opportunity to trade the way that we react and trade to earnings like an Oracle today or a C3 AI, this is your only chance to be able to do that. What am I even talking about? This is your only opportunity to be able to do that. So you said January 15th, you'll get the 100 top symbols. And then you're going to be rolling out some more. When it comes to trading the OTC names, is there a date for that, or is that at the same time at the 15th?
So we actually did a soft launch of OTC names back in October, just so we could get the systems up and running, get it going, kind of in preparation for the listed side. But right now when we're going around, we're getting firms to connect. We're like, okay, here's the listed side. Also connect to OTC. OTC is really a brand new product, right? Because firms just don't do it in that time. I think the sticky point for this is going to be able to actually trade earnings, like you were just saying, Nintendo, because Nintendo earnings don't come out, after the markets close here in the U.S. They come out, at different times, because obviously, right, they're all in different time zones as well too, and so kind of if you want to trade like you do that, then now this is the opportunity to actually get out there and do it. And so, we have I think we have 20 names that are enabled for OTC right now as part of our soft launch from that. But, we're just going to expand post, probably going through Q1 of next year and get those names out there, get the Canadian names out there as well, too.
Fantastic, Jeff. Appreciate it. And for everyone, I did throw it, and I'll throw it again if you're interested in reading up. I'll throw the link in the chat. You can always just go to otcmarkets.com and then find Moon Overnight. But I'm going to throw the link up in the chat for everyone that's interested in it. I think it's going to be a fantastic opportunity, obviously, overnight trading. And the other thing to consider is crypto's 24-hour market. So when you start to add some of those, like the miners and the crypto adjacent names, the Coinbases of the world, those become a big deal because they're going to move when Bitcoin moves, and that is a 24-hour market. Totally. Mr. Jeff Mendel, thank you again for coming through. Thanks for coming by and dropping and for the fantastic lunch we had. We appreciate you and look forward to talking to you in the future, and best of luck with this Moon launch.
Always a good time. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week, probably.
Appreciate you, Jeff.
Bye.
Thank you, Jeff, for that. That's pretty crazy.
Big
there.
Deal.
I've noticed recently OTCs have been getting some record volume in OTC
Fannie
markets.
Freddie
Fannie Freddie. There's
again.
some other names as well that are starting to show up on my scanners, and I'm like, oh boy, like some of these OTC names. This is NVIDIA. Yeah, you were like,
so just a couple. Look, it's past 11 o'clock. I want to give.
It's an NVIDIA.
I want to thank Jeff here for a second, but I wanted to just give a quick update. So Mara did roll over. So Mara back into the prior high. We shorted. I did get a fill at 83. We just broke 23.5. Bitcoin's at 95 change and still falling. So the market did pull back in rather heavily. The Nasdaq's almost about to go red. I'm not in any longs anymore. I'm just still holding Intel short and then the Mara short that we entered into. But it's 11 o'clock, everybody. Opening hour are going to be back at 2. But for now, you got the professor. You've got Joey Options. Go get them, boys. I don't know what the lesson is today, but it's going to be a good one.
All right. See you guys.
Yes. What is up, beautiful people? Welcome to How to Trade. That is your boy, Joey Options, and I'm Sharif. And we're going to wait for everyone to come on over from the other stream. The boys had a